Chapter 3156. Ling Xiao, don't you know that you're about to die? You killed my 9th brother. That's a crime that deserves death. But you actually dared to have designs on Ba Dao. Don't you know that he's the person that young Master Zhu Chen values the most? Young Master Zhu Chen is the guardian's most beloved great-grandson. Do you think that you can escape young Master Zhu Chen's eyes? After you entered the burial desert, every action of yours was already exposed. Ying Yilong sneered. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Zhu Chen. Looks like it's just as I thought. It's really that despicable person who only knows how to hide. But I'm curious. Why didn't he come? Could it be that he's treating you as cannon fodder? Ling Xiao said with a smile. Facing the siege of Feng Fan, Ying Yilong, and more than 10 other experts, there was no trace of fear on his face. What a sharp tongue. Do you really think that the 3 of you can escape from our hands? Ying Yilong said coldly. Where's Zhu Chen? Ba Dao asked coldly. He was originally grateful to Zhu Chen. Even if Zhu Chen had used him, he was still grateful that Zhu Chen had saved him and Tong Tong. However, he never thought that Zhu Chen would be so crazy. In order to control him, Zhu Chen had actually placed a curse on Tong Tong's body. Tong Tong was Ba Dao's reverse scale. At this moment, Ba Dao hated Zhu Chen so much that he was about to go crazy. Ba Dao, let me give you a piece of advice. If you join young Master Zhu Chen now, you and your sister can live. Otherwise, don't blame us for being ruthless. Ying Yilong stared at Ba Dao and sneered. Where's Zhu Chen? Ba Dao asked again. His voice was low, and it was filled with suppressed anger. Stubborn. Since you don't know what's good for you, then die with your sister. Ying Yilong sneered. Ying Yilong, you talk too much nonsense. Just attack. Although I owe Zhu Chen a favor, I'm not his subordinate. Feng Fan said with a frown. Brother Feng is right. But Brother Feng, don't underestimate them. This Ling Xiao is the heaven's chosen one. Once you kill him, you can replace him and obtain his heavenly Dao fate. On the other hand, Ba Dao even killed 7 heaven burial ant kings in the past. So, we must attack with all our strength and strive to annihilate all of them. Ying Yilong said with a smile. He couldn't afford to offend Feng Fan. This person's Dao of archery had already reached an extraordinary level. He had once injured a peerless imperial emperor with a single arrow. Many high-level imperial emperors had died at his hands. It was because of Feng Fan and the other prodigies of the Divine Arrow clan that he was so confident in killing Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. The chosen one. Very good. He's mine. Feng Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light, revealing a strong battle intent. Don't worry, Brother Feng. Ling Xiao's life is definitely yours. His heavenly fate is also yours. We'll leave the long-range attacks to you guys. Ying Yilong said with a smile. Don't worry. They can't escape. Feng Fan coldly said. His voice revealed a powerful wave of confidence. Divine Arrow Clan, Divine Arrow piercing the heavens. In front of the Divine Arrow Clan, no one could dodge their arrows. Once an arrow was shot, there would be no regrets. Once an arrow was shot, there would be blood. Divine Arrow return. Feng Fan stared at Ba Dao and said proudly. Boom. It was as if his mouth contained the heavenly law, and his voice contained a strange power. The golden arrow in Ba Dao's hand instantly shone brightly. Surging Emperor's aura filled the air. The arrow seemed to be able to pierce through everything. Ba Dao felt that if he didn't let go, his entire hand would explode. Give it to me. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Then, he grabbed the golden arrow in Ba Dao's hand. Boom. Unparalleled divine power erupted. The golden arrow in Ling Xiao's hand trembled violently. It wanted to escape from Ling Xiao's grasp, but it couldn't break free. The chaotic energy in Ling Xiao's palm annihilated everything. The arrows shattered one after another. Golden arrow? Take one of my arrows. Ling Xiao said indifferently. His eyes flashed with a bright light. Swoosh! Unparalleled divine power erupted from his body. He grabbed the golden arrow and threw it at Feng Fan. The golden arrow seemed to have been blessed with a terrifying power. In an instant, it swept across the void. It was extremely bright. It was like a golden sun, flying towards Feng Fan. If the golden arrow shot by Feng Fan was said to be sharp, piercing, and unstoppable, like a meteor. But now, the golden arrow shot by Ling Xiao was exuding a majestic aura. It suppressed everyone's heart and soul. Boom! After shooting the golden arrow, Ling Xiao also made his move in an instant. He threw out a punch. Chaotic light gushed out. Unparalleled fist print swept across all directions, suppressing Ying Yifan. Clang! The blade radiance was dazzling. In Ba Dao's hand, a long rainbow flew across the sky and shrouded the Divine Arrow clan. You're courting death. Feng Fan's eyes flashed coldly. He was shocked and angry. He did not expect Ling Xiao to be able to control his golden arrow. Moreover, there were signs that the golden arrow was going to backfire. Blazing light gushed out from his body. His slender fingers pointed in the void. In an instant, arrows flew across the sky and shot towards Ling Xiao's vital points. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and wanted to grab the golden arrow in his hand. Boom! The moment he came into contact with the golden arrow, he felt the terror of the golden arrow. That unparalleled divine power exploded, making him feel as if his arm was about to be shattered. He couldn't help but fall back. At this moment, Ba Dao had also charged towards him. You're courting death. Kill him. The eyes of the Divine Arrow clan's members were as sharp as iron. Their killing intent was boiling. They all held their bows and shot arrows. Many golden arrows were shot out at an extremely fast speed. Their movements were like afterimages. They kept drawing their bows and releasing arrows. The arrow radiance swept across the void and enveloped Ba Dao. Crack! The dazzling blade radiance fell like the Milky Way across the 9 heavens. The domineering blade intent shrouded the surroundings as if it could destroy everything. The sky full of arrow radiance exploded. Ba Dao held the broken sword in his hand, but there was an invincible aura about him as he charged towards the Divine Arrow clan. You're courting death. Feng Fan stabilized his body. His eyes flashed coldly. He regained control of the golden arrow in his hand. In an instant, he knocked it on the golden bow and shot it towards Ba Dao. The dazzling golden radiance was like a meteor falling from the sky. It was so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. Ba Dao felt a fatal threat coming towards him. Without hesitation, he slashed down with his blade. Boom! The unparalleled blade radiance collided with the golden arrow. Dazzling light bloomed and swept across the void like a storm. In the end, the blade radiance was shattered. The golden arrow was like a hot knife through butter. It directly hit the broken sword in Ba Dao's hand. Crack! The broken sword seemed to be unable to withstand such a terrifying force and shattered into pieces. The golden arrow pierced through Ba Dao's chest. His body shattered in the void. Afterimage? Feng Fan's eyes flashed. He suddenly felt a strong sense of danger coming from behind him. Chapter 3157. Boom! Feng Fan did not even hesitate. Sharp arrow radiance shot out from his body as he turned his palm and slammed it behind him. His palm was extremely sharp, like thousands of arrows shooting out at the same time. The dazzling arrow radiance seemed to be able to shatter everything. It was extremely terrifying. Behind him, Ba Dao's eyes were extremely cold. A huge saber radiance like the Milky Way hung upside down in the 9 heavens as it slashed down from the sky. Boom! The void shook violently as Feng Fan and Ba Dao's saber radiance collided. Feng Fan's body trembled as the clothes on his arms were instantly torn apart. The terrifying saber radiance left bloody wounds on his body. Feng Fan felt as if his entire arm had lost all feeling as he was sent flying. However, Ba Dao's saber radiance was also shattered by his palm. Very good. You have thoroughly offended me. Feng Fan's eyes were cold as he exuded an extremely powerful battle intent. Rumble. He instantly soared into the sky like a golden bolt of lightning. His speed was extremely fast as blazing arrow radiance rose around him. The killing intent in his eyes seemed to have materialized. The golden bow spewed out a powerful emperor's aura as it intertwined with the golden arrow. The two merged into one and an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation erupted. Although the power of an extreme Dao Emperor's weapon was suppressed in Eternal Emperor Road, it was still much stronger than other weapons. Especially since Feng Fan's cultivation had already reached the high-level Imperial Emperor realm. He had even condensed the origin of arrow. In terms of archery, he could be said to have reached the acme of perfection. Ba Dao also understood that Feng Fan's strength was extremely terrifying. That was why he chose to engage in close combat, not giving Feng Fan any chance to catch his breath. Seeing Feng Fan soar into the sky, he also slashed down with his saber. The saber radiance traversed the void and was extremely intense. Swoosh! 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 At that moment, the other geniuses of the Divine Arrow clan all looked at Ba Dao coldly. They had already distanced themselves from Feng Fan and raised their bows to shoot at him. The golden arrow radiance was like a meteor. Its speed was extremely fast, causing Ba Dao to feel slightly threatened. Boom! Left with no choice, he faced the attack in the air. The terrifying saber intent around him rose and annihilated the golden arrow radiance. However, his body naturally slowed down by a little. At this moment, Windsail had already pulled away from him. Ba Dao, take my demon god world annihilating arrow. Feng Fan's face was incomparably cold, but his eyes became incomparably resplendent. His cold voice exploded in the air. His entire body shone with a resplendent golden light as if he was cast from gold. He pulled open the golden bow, and the golden arrow contained a peerless sharpness as it locked onto Ba Dao in the distance. His entire body was filled with a different kind of beauty, as if he was the incarnation of the archer god. His entire essence, energy, and spirit had fused into the golden arrow. Sky Tyrant Slash! Ba Dao's fighting spirit rose in his eyes. He didn't choose to retreat in the face of this powerful arrow. Instead, he charged forward. Rumble! Ba Dao's entire body emitted an incomparably terrifying saber intent. Although the saber in his hand was shattered, his entire body seemed to have transformed into a peerless divine saber, emitting a monstrous baleful aura. Everyone could see that there seemed to be a huge astral saber that was tens of thousands of feet long in the air, slashing down at the sail. At the same time, the aura around Feng Fan's body was also extremely powerful. The golden arrow instantly left the bowstring and shot towards Ba Dao. Roar! The sound of the golden arrow piercing through the air was like the roar of a demon god. In the blazing golden light, it seemed as if a peerless demon god had emerged. In an instant, it split into millions of rays of light, enveloping Ba Dao's entire body. Demon God World Annihilating Arrow. With the power of a demon god, it carried out an act of annihilation. Crack! The unparalleled astral saber fell and collided with the demon god World Annihilating Arrow. In an instant, shocking divine light fluctuations erupted. The aura was terrifying to the extreme, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. Rays of golden light were shattered one after another. The origin of the arrow and the origin of the saber, one focused on sharpness, while the other focused on dominance. Both were the most powerful origin of killing, incomparably terrifying. The collision between Feng Fan and Ba Dao was like a collision between two peerless geniuses. The power was terrifying to the extreme. In an instant, the saber light and the arrow light were annihilated at the same time. However, Ba Dao charged over from the boundless storm. His eyes revealed a crazed expression. If he didn't go crazy, he wouldn't survive. Facing the rain of arrows, despite his body being drenched in blood and being pierced by thousands of arrows, he still charged through the sky. Of course, his physical body wasn't as strong as Ling Xiao's that could ignore an extreme Dao Emperor weapon. On the contrary, the golden arrow had caused him quite a bit of damage. However, he had paid the price of being injured in exchange for the distance between him and Feng Fan. He arrived in front of Feng Fan. Clang! Ba Dao didn't have a saber in his hand, or rather, his hand was a saber. The saber light seemed to be able to destroy everything. It was terrifying to the extreme as it slashed down towards Feng Fan. The dazzling saber light was like a storm, sweeping across the void and enveloping both Ba Dao and Feng Fan. Tyrannical Blade's crazy fighting style caught even Windsail unprepared. This lunatic. Feng Fan felt the fatal threat from the saber light and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He revealed a trace of fear and quickly retreated. At the same time, the golden arrow was placed on the golden bow. The arrow light was dazzling and it was like a ray of light that pierced through the void, shooting towards Ba Dao. However, the saber light that filled the sky had annihilated all of the arrow light. The unparalleled saber light was like a mountain pressing down on Feng Fan, causing him to feel as though he had been struck by lightning. The golden bow in his hand trembled violently and he was sent flying. Pfft! He spat out a mouthful of blood and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Ba Dao, is this his true strength? Feng Fan muttered to himself, revealing a trace of incomparable madness in his eyes. Facing Ba Dao in front of him, he actually felt a sense of excitement as though he had seen a prey. The flesh on his body started to tremble. Ba Dao had injured him, and this made him value Ba Dao even more. This was a powerful opponent. Ba Dao, you are indeed very strong. You are qualified to receive my 3 world-extinguishing arrows. Feng Fan said slowly, his eyes filled with an incomparably strong fighting spirit. Cut the crap. Let's see if you can survive under my saber. Ba Dao's voice was incomparably cold. Amidst the divine light that filled the sky, his body was dripping with blood, but his aura was incomparably terrifying. A sharp and overbearing saber intent erupted, making him look like an ancient god fiend that had walked out from the primordial chaos, as if he could destroy everything. He did not have a saber in his hand, but his saber was everywhere. After the saber in his hand shattered, it was as if some kind of shackle on his body had been broken, causing his saber light to become even more tyrannical and fierce. Boom! The unparalleled saber light instantly pierced through heaven and earth. It was overbearing and terrifying, as if it was going to destroy the world, enveloping Feng Fan in front of him. Chapter 3158. Just as Ba Dao and Feng Fan were engaged in an intense battle, Ling Xiao was also engaged in a battle with the 8 dragon lords. Unparalleled fist imprints swept across the void as the surrounding sand danced wildly like a storm, emitting an incomparably tyrannical aura. The fist imprints that filled the sky were like gigantic ancient divine mountains, majestic and ferocious, exuding an unstoppable and invincible aura. Boom! Yilong was sent flying by Ling Xiao's fist, slamming heavily into the ground far away, creating a huge pit in the burial desert. The ground rumbled as Yilong soared into the sky, his eyes filled with incomparable shock. Although he had seen the battle between Ling Xiao and Ba Dao, it was separated by the arena of life and death after all. Although he knew that Ling Xiao was strong, he had never exchanged blows with Ling Xiao before, so he did not have much of an impression of him. But now, he finally experienced Ling Xiao's strength. That chaotic fist imprint seemed to be able to crush and shatter everything. It was majestic and incomparably vast. Before the fist arrived, the fist intent had already taken away one's soul, making one feel as though they were facing an invincible emperor. Naturally, fear would arise in their hearts. That was the feeling that Ling Xiao gave Yilong. Although Ling Xiao was only a 4th heaven emperor now, Yilong had unknowingly overlooked Ling Xiao's cultivation, and a feeling of being unable to contend with him arose in his heart. How can he be so strong? Yilong's heart was filled with incomparable shock. At the same time, he felt extremely indignant. He was a self-proclaimed genius, the leader of the 9 dragon lords, and was known as the most talented monster in the Winged Dragon clan. He was the hope of the Winged Dragon clan. He had once suppressed countless geniuses and stood at the top, nurturing an invincible aura. That was why he stepped onto the Eternal Emperor's road, thinking that he could compete with all the geniuses in the universe on the Eternal Emperor's road. But he did not expect to meet Ling Xiao in the first Emperor's city of the Torch Dragon Emperor's city. This human was only a 4th Heaven Emperor who had just broken through not long ago, and yet he was able to give him such a strong pressure. Yilong, didn't you want to avenge your brother? You can't even take a punch from me. How are you going to take revenge? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. There seemed to be billions of rays of light shooting out from his eyes. He strode over, chaotic light surging around his body, as if he was pushing aside the sun, moon, and stars. His aura was terrifying to the extreme. Behind him, there seemed to be 3,000 worlds emerging from the chaotic fog. At the same time, there was also a mysterious scene of billions of chaotic gods and devils roaring. Every step Ling Xiao took was like he was stepping on the heavenly Tao. A majestic aura emanated from him, captivating everyone's souls. He was nurturing his strength. Nurture the power of invincibility. Thus, when facing the 8 dragon sovereigns, he only used his fists to fight them. Even though the black spear in Yilong's hand was a powerful Apex Emperor armament, he was still fearless. An extreme Tao Emperor weapon might be considered as an invincible weapon to experts below the Great Emperor realm. However, to great emperors, it was merely a worldly possession and was not that important. Many extreme Tao monarch weapons had been damaged during the monarch wars. Great emperors were strong because they had an invincible heart. Therefore, they were able to nurture the power of invincibility, allowing them to dominate the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Ling Xiao's current strength was only in its embryonic form. However, it still made the 8 dragon sovereigns feel a chill down their spines. He had forced Yilong back with a single punch and had already captured the hearts of the 8 dragon sovereigns. He had planted the seed of invincibility in their hearts. Ling Xiao, you're courting death. Yilong was shocked and furious. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Rumble. His arrogance rose. As an upper-level Emperor realm expert, if he could not even take a single punch from Ling Xiao and could not even avenge his younger brother, how could he compete for the Eternal Emperor path? Kill! He roared. The black spear in his hand emitted black flames. It was extremely cold and exuded a destructive aura as it pierced towards Ling Xiao. Kill! He's not that strong. Don't be fooled by him. Today, either he dies or we die. Let's fight it out with him. All the sky prides of the Winged Dragon tribe were filled with killing intent. They stimulated the powerful battle intent in their hearts as they charged towards Ling Xiao. The surrounding void shook. Destructive energy intertwined around them, causing them to exude an extremely violent aura. Roar! A dragon's roar resounded, shaking the heavens and earth. The surrounding void trembled violently. The Winged Dragon tribe was a branch of the Dragon tribe. Like the Shining Dragon tribe, they had been separated from the Dragon tribe for countless years. The Winged Dragon tribe specialized in destruction. Extreme darkness, extreme destruction, extreme killing, and extreme violence. All of this was because they had the bloodline of the Black Destruction Dragon in their bodies. The 3 primogenitors of the Dragon tribe, the Primordial Ancestor Dragon, the Genesis Dragon, and the Black Destruction Dragon, formed the 3 branches of the Dragon tribe, the Shining Dragon tribe, and the Winged Dragon tribe. The 9 dragon sovereigns were called the Hope of the Winged Dragon tribe because they had awakened a portion of the Black Destruction Dragon's bloodline. Among them, Yilong's bloodline was the strongest. It was almost at the level of atavism. Rumble. The attacks of the 8 dragon sovereigns were like a storm, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. They completely enveloped Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes burned brightly. He was fearless in the face of the attacks of the 8 dragon sovereigns. His unparalleled fist imprint suddenly exploded. Behind him was the mysterious scene of the birth and destruction of epochs and the reincarnation of all living beings. The unparalleled fist imprint seemed to pierce through the long river of time, breaking through the barrier of chaos and exuding an eternal power. The epoch fist. It was also an extreme killing and destructive energy. The epoch fist was extremely terrifying. It bloomed from the center of the 8 dragon sovereigns' attacks. Rumble. It was like a chaotic lotus had bloomed. It was dazzling and swept out in all directions. It destroyed the attacks of the 8 dragon sovereigns and then swept out in an instant. The 8 dragon sovereigns felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They were like small boats in an endless storm. All of their attacks were destroyed and then sent flying. Clang! Ling Xiao's unparalleled fist imprint collided with Ying Yilong's black battle spear. The sound of metal colliding rang out, and a blazing light blossomed. Ying Yilong's entire body shook violently, and his arm went numb. His eyes were filled with incomparable shock. Ling Xiao's strength had exceeded his imagination. Ling Xiao's physical body was so strong that it could withstand his apex emperor weapon. Although he had attacked with all his might, he could not cause any damage to Ling Xiao. If it was before the battle between Ba Dao and I, the 8 of you might have had the strength to fight me. However, you are too weak now. Ling Xiao said indifferently as he threw out a punch. The battle spear in Ying Yilong's hands suddenly bent and blazing light exploded. Then, an unparalleled divine force exploded and he was sent flying. Chapter 3159. Ling Xiao walked out from the chaos. His eyes were indifferent, but there was a mysterious light shooting out from them. It was as though his eyes could illuminate the heavens. He was unstoppable and exuded an invincible aura. Before his battle with Ba Dao, he was only a 3rd heaven imperial emperor. If the 8 dragon monarchs had joined forces, it would not have been so easy for Ling Xiao to win. However, after that battle, Ling Xiao had broken through to the 4th heaven imperial emperor realm. Although it was only a small realm, it was a huge difference to Ling Xiao, who had accumulated a lot of experience. It allowed Ling Xiao's strength to soar. A mid-level imperial emperor could be killed with a flip of his hand. A high-level imperial emperor could only withstand a few more punches. Among the 8 dragon monarchs, only Ying Yilong was a high-level imperial emperor. The rest were mid-level imperial emperors. In Ling Xiao's eyes, they were nothing. Brothers, Ling Xiao's strength is too terrifying. If we want to kill him and avenge 9th brother, we can only use the Black Destruction Dragon true form now. Do you believe me? Ying Yilong looked at the remaining dragon monarchs and said solemnly. Big brother, of course we believe you. Then summon the Black Destruction Dragon true form. As long as we can kill him, it will be worth it even if we have to pay the price. That's right. Big brother, if we can't kill him today, we will probably die in his hands. There's no need to hesitate. The dragon monarch said resolutely. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. All right. Summon the Black Destruction Dragon true form. If we can kill him today and devour his heavenly fate, it will be our fortune. Ying Yilong roared. The murderous intent in his eyes was dazzling, and there was even a trace of madness. Roar! 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 A series of dragon roars exploded in the void. Rumble! With Ying Yilong taking the lead, the 8 dragon monarchs instantly revealed their true forms. They turned into 8 black dragons that were 10,000 feet long. Each of them exuded a monstrous dragon aura. They opened their mouths and a black dragon pearl flew out from each of their mouths. The 8 dragon pearls gathered in the void. In an instant, the sky shook and the void distorted. Endless destructive light rose. Streaks of blood-red light shot up into the sky from their bodies and condensed into a mysterious black dragon shadow in the void. Although the black dragon silhouette did not look big and was not very solid, it had a ferocious aura that surged to the heavens. Black Destruction Dragon, kill! Ying Yilong roared furiously. The black dragon's shadow instantly fused with him, causing his aura to skyrocket. A tyrannical and terrifying energy fluctuation spread out. His pair of blood moon-like eyes stared at Ling Xiao, containing a bone-deep hatred. The true body of the Black Destruction Dragon. It's a pity that the Black Destruction Dragon bloodline in your bodies is still too thin. Ling Xiao asked with interest. He did not interrupt the 8 dragon monarchs. He naturally knew of the winged dragon race's origins, and he had also sensed the bloodline aura of the Black Destruction Dragon within the 8 dragon monarchs. From the looks of it, the 8 dragon monarchs had been pushed to their limits. They had actually summoned the Black Destruction Dragon's true body. Shameless boasting. Ling Xiao, you deserve to die 10,000 times. A monstrous furious roar erupted from Ying Yilong's mouth. Similarly, it contained a monstrous amount of hatred. Rumble. Endless black light spewed out. It was incomparably viscous, and it instantly enveloped Ling Xiao like a black curtain. The black energy contained an incomparably tyrannical destructive power. At the same time, it seemed to be able to freeze the void. It made Ling Xiao feel as if he had fallen into a swamp, and his speed became incomparably slow. Ying Yilong instantly spat out a black flame from his mouth. It contained a destructive aura as it shot through the air towards Ling Xiao. What a powerful destruction source! Ling Xiao exclaimed in his heart. The black flame made him feel quite threatened. If he was touched by the black flame, his bones might be able to withstand it, but his flesh and blood would probably be instantly incinerated. Rumble. A 9-colored flame also appeared in Ling Xiao's palm. It contained the heaven-devouring source. It was the heaven-devouring flame. It turned into a 9-colored lotus and went towards the black flame. At the same time, Ling Xiao took a step forward and instantly traversed the void. Unparalleled fist intent swept out in all directions as he punched towards Ying Yilong. The heaven-devouring flame and the destruction flame collided. In an instant, the flames distorted, causing the surrounding void to distort violently. They intertwined and destroyed each other. As Ling Xiao's fist landed, it collided with Ying Yilong's huge dragon claw. Boom! It was like a punch had landed on a mountain. Ying Yilong's huge dragon claw was incomparably sturdy and sharp. After blocking Ling Xiao's punch, it grabbed towards Ling Xiao's head. Roar! Ying Yilong seemed to have really turned into a black destruction dragon. His entire body was filled with the tyrannical destruction source. His strength was extremely strong, and he was not at a disadvantage when facing Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao instantly threw out hundreds and thousands of punches, but they were all blocked by Ying Yilong. Ling Xiao's unparalleled chaos fist imprint did not seem to be able to cause any damage to Ying Yilong. On the contrary, the black dragon scales on Ying Yilong's body were sturdy and indestructible. Even if they took Ling Xiao's chaos fist imprint head-on, they were still shining brightly. Moreover, the destructive force continued to spread into Ling Xiao's body, trying to destroy the life force in his body. It seems that other than your Dragon Dao fruit, your Black Destruction Dragon bloodline is also not bad. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Your heavenly fate is also not bad. Ying Yilong said coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. His voice was like thunder, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. The two of them confronted each other with equal harshness, not giving in at all. He had fused with the bloodline powers of the 8 dragon monarchs and formed the true body of the world-destroying black dragon. He was finally able to contend with Ling Xiao and even had the upper hand. Every strike seemed to be able to deal significant damage to Ling Xiao. Rumble. Chaos light swept out in all directions. The destruction energy intertwined and the dragon roar was extremely loud. The battle between Ling Xiao and Ying Yilong was extremely intense, as if it could destroy everything. The oasis where the sky-burying fruit grew had long been destroyed. Yellow sand filled the sky and swept out wildly. The eternal theme of the battle was the desert. If it weren't for the fact that the burial desert was extremely special and protected by the power of the Skyway, the burial desert would have been shattered by this battle. While Ling Xiao and Ba Dao were fighting fiercely against the strong enemy, they did not know that a conspiracy against them had unfolded in the Sky Burial Desert. Ling Xiao is a Dao robber. a piece of news exploded in the Sky Burial Desert. Many of the trial challengers and Sky Prides were incomparably shocked. In the beginning, they were skeptical. However, after the Guardian's order and the reward were announced, they began to believe it. According to the Guardian's orders and bounty, Ling Xiao was actually a Dao robber who wanted to kill the various trial challengers and steal their origin Dao fruits. The Guardian had ordered all the trial challengers and Sky Prides in the Sky Burial Desert to surround and kill Ling Xiao. This news made everyone boil with excitement. Is Ling Xiao really a Dao robber? This is unbelievable. Isn't he the chosen one? Who said that the chosen one can't be a Dao robber? The chosen one has the heavenly fate energy and is more likely to be chosen as a Dao robber. As the name suggests, a Dao robber wants to rob us of our Dao fruits. This is a test of the heavenly fate and also the natural enemy of many trial challengers. What a pity. I heard that Ling Xiao is from the human tribe. In the last era, the human tribe's heavenly emperor was invincible and dominated the eternal emperor road. He finally proved his Dao and became an emperor. He was even invincible and killed great emperor powerhouses. Ling Xiao has become a Dao robber. I'm afraid the human tribe doesn't have much hope this time. Young Master Zhu Chen has already said that anyone who can kill Ling Xiao will be able to inherit his heavenly fate energy and become the chosen one. That's not all. Anyone who kills Ling Xiao will be rewarded with a large number of origin energy pills and various opportunities from the Guardian. Someone has discovered Ling Xiao's whereabouts. He is currently being held back by Lord Feng Fan and Lord Yilong. Everyone, quickly go and support him. Let's go, let's go. In the Sky Burial Desert, some of the powerful trial takers and geniuses had been fighting against desolate beasts, while others had been searching for the Sky Burial fruit. However, when they heard this news, they were all tempted and headed towards Ling Xiao's location from all directions. The Guardian and young Master Zhu Chen had already informed everyone of Ling Xiao's location. In everyone's opinion, Ling Xiao was already dead. It all depended on who could kill Ling Xiao first and obtain the greatest opportunity. In the burial desert, in an origin energy lake. Mist rose and multicolored light filled the air. This lake was formed from pure origin energy, and it contained boundless energy ripples. Zhu Chen sat cross-legged in the origin source lake, inhaling and exhaling origin source energy. He was like a primeval beast. Every time he exhaled, the surrounding void would rumble as vast amounts of origin source energy poured into his body. His aura was powerful and terrifying, causing the surrounding void to resonate at the same time. Young Master, the trap has been laid. Many trial challengers and Sky Prides have been attracted by your and the Guardian's orders and are all rushing towards Ling Xiao's location. A beautiful maid in a long dress who had an extraordinary cultivation base and an extraordinary temperament spoke respectfully to Zhu Chen. Very good. It seems like it's time to reel in the net. We should also reap the fruits of our victory. I hope Ling Xiao can hold on a little longer. Otherwise, it will be boring. Zhu Chen slowly opened his eyes and a ray of light shot out. It was bright and resplendent. Rumble. He suddenly opened his mouth and a boundless world seemed to appear behind him. It possessed a terrifying pulse of power, devouring all the power in the origin lake. Light shone brightly and mist rose as Zhu Chen stepped out of the lake. A few beautiful maids who were guarding around him immediately came forward to help him change his clothes. They combed his hair carefully and wiped off the water droplets. Their actions were extremely gentle. Zhu Chen's eyes shone brightly. In front of him, there was an extremely mysterious light screen. There was a red dot on it and it showed the location where Ling Xiao was. Let's go. Zhu Chen said indifferently. Together with the maids, they turned into streaks of light and shot into the sky, heading towards Ling Xiao's location. Ling Xiao is a robber. Why would the Guardian spread such news? In the burial desert, in an oasis full of vitality, Fairy Jinghong frowned slightly and her eyes were filled with confusion. Around her were 6 other beautiful feather race girls, as well as a voluptuous woman in a black dress. She was the master of the Creation Tower and the master of the Falling Sky Tower. I heard that Ling Xiao seemed to have offended Zhu Chen and snatched away an expert that Zhu Chen fancied. I'm afraid that's why Zhu Chen hates him. Tower Master Bai Luo said slowly. Her eyes were also filled with confusion. They had been in seclusion before the battle between Ling Xiao and Ba Dao, so they had not heard about it. However, even if Ling Xiao had offended Zhu Chen, in their opinion, Zhu Chen did not have to make such a big fuss. After all, Ling Xiao's cultivation was not strong. He was only at the third heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm. If Zhu Chen wanted to deal with Ling Xiao, it would be a very simple matter. There must be something strange going on. Sister Bai Luo, you're right. Ling Xiao can't be a robber. Then, it must be Zhu Chen and the Guardian's scheme. They actually set up such a huge scheme for Ling Xiao. Aren't they overestimating Ling Xiao? Fairy Jinghong frowned and said. Perhaps Ling Xiao is so strong that Zhu Chen does not dare to deal with him and can only rely on the trial takers and sky prides. Tower Master Bai Luo suddenly smiled and said. How is that possible? No matter how strong he is, his cultivation is only at the third heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm. If the Guardian and Zhu Chen want to kill him, it will be a piece of cake. Fairy Jinghong shook her head and said. The reason behind this is not something we can speculate about. Sister Jinghong, you're not thinking of saving him, are you? I advise you not to act rashly. Ling Xiao is now an enemy of the entire world. You and I can't save him. Tower Master Bai Luo said slowly. I naturally don't want to save a stupid guy like him. However, for the sake of the Empress, let's go and take a look. Perhaps we can help. Fairy Jinghong said coldly. However, she still stood up and looked into the distance with clear eyes. That was where Ling Xiao was. Sister Jinghong, I advise you to act within your means. Although the Wing tribe is strong, the trial takers and sky prides in the Eternal Emperor Road will not be afraid of the Wing tribe. Tower Master Bai Luo shook her head and said. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I hope that idiot is smart and knows how to hide. He won't foolishly go up there and wait for others to kill him. Fairy Jinghong shook her head and said. You're cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Tower Master Bai Luo shook her head and said. Whoosh! 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 The few of them took to the sky at the same time and left the oasis, flying towards Ling Xiao's location. Burial Desert was becoming more chaotic because of Ling Xiao alone. P.S. 2 chapters of a 4,000-word chapter combined into one. I have something to do tonight, so I'll update it in advance. Rest early after reading it. Chapter 3160. Rumble. Ba Dao's entire body seemed to have turned into a dazzling saber radiance. It instantly tore through the void and slashed across the sky. The golden arrow shot by Feng Fan was struck by Ba Dao and instantly shook violently. Blazing radiance burst out and the arrow was sent flying. Unparalleled divine power surged, tyrannical and terrifying. Feng Fan could not help but turn pale. His entire body shook violently and he was sent flying. As expected of the Sky Tyrant slash. As expected of the successor of the Sky Tyrant Saber Emperor. Feng Fan stared at Ba Dao and said coldly. His eyes were filled with incomparable solemnity. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. His 3 Armageddon arrows were extremely powerful and could pierce through the universe. He had once killed many high-level Imperial Emperors. However, all of them were broken by Ba Dao. Ba Dao's saber intent was majestic, mysterious and tyrannical. It had an invincible aura as if he was the reincarnation of a saber emperor. No one could resist him. In particular, Ba Dao's method of exchanging life for life made Feng Fan feel uncomfortable. In order to close the distance between him and Feng Fan, Ba Dao did not care about the injuries he received from the golden arrow. He unleashed his supreme saber art and slashed down continuously. It was like a monstrous wave that was unstoppable. In the end, Ba Dao arrived in front of Feng Fan. Your strength is not bad. However, it's a pity that your archery skills are not up to par. Ba Dao said indifferently. The space between his brows, chest, and limbs seemed to have been pierced by arrows. Blood and flesh dripped from his wounds. Although boundless life force surged and constantly repaired his damaged body, it was still unable to completely heal his injuries. The blood that was dripping from his body made him look even crazier and more ferocious. After hearing Ba Dao's words, Feng Fan's face turned pale. He had the golden arrow and the golden bow, two supreme emperor weapons, together with his archery skills. However, he was still unable to kill Ba Dao, whose cultivation level was lower than his. This showed that his archery skills were not up to par. Ba Dao's words were like a slap to his face. Rumble. In the distance, Ling Zhao's chaotic fist print was unparalleled. It contained boundless power of creation. In an instant, it broke through the void and slammed heavily on Yilong's body. Fist of creation. It was as if thousands of layers of divine power had been superimposed, instantly magnifying Ling Zhao's physical strength to the extreme. It contained the power of creation and life. Yilong's entire body shook violently, and he was sent flying. An incomparably miserable dragon roar erupted from his mouth. Dozens of the black dragon scales on the body of the 30,000 zhang long black dragon were shattered. It was almost pierced through by soaring cloud, and a huge bloody hole appeared. The dignified, ancient and mysterious pressure on Yilong's body was slowly disappearing. That was the power of the true body of the black dragon of destruction, which was about to recede. In the battle against Ling Zhao grew more and more courageous. Furthermore, he was not at a disadvantage in the slightest. However, Yilong was unable to hold on. Damn it! If ninth brother was still here, the Black Destruction Dragon true body would definitely be able to kill him. Yilong's eyes were filled with shock and anger. His entire body was dripping with blood. He looked extremely miserable. The other dragon sovereigns were also greatly injured because they had formed the true body of the Black Destruction Dragon true body. When they saw that even Yilong, who had merged with the true body of the Black Destruction Dragon true body, was defeated by Ling Zhao, their eyes were filled with disbelief. Could it be that the 8 dragon sovereigns were going to be defeated by Ling Zhao today? Swoosh! 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 When the few sky prides of the Divine Arrow clan saw that they could not interfere in the battle between Ba Dao and Ling Zhao, they decisively gave up and charged towards Tong Tong. In their opinion, Tong Tong was only a third heaven imperial emperor. If they could capture or kill Tong Tong alive, Ling Zhao and Ba Dao would definitely go berserk. At that time, an opening would appear, and it would be the time of their deaths. Rays of dazzling arrow radiance swept across the sky like shooting stars, constantly shooting towards Tong Tong's vital points. Buzz! Tong Tong's eyes emitted a strange 9-colored light. It was like a mysterious whirlpool, causing the space around her to freeze. Those arrow radiance that flew towards her were instantly annihilated when they came into contact with the space around her. What? The few sky prides of the Divine Arrow clan could not help but change their expressions. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. However, when they came into contact with Tong Tong's eyes, they suddenly felt that their minds were attracted by Tong Tong's eyes. They were constantly being pulled, as if they were about to sink into the abyss of hell. Their expressions were blank as they stood there in a daze. It was as if they had forgotten to attack Tong Tong. Ba Dao walked towards Feng Fan, while Ling Zhao walked towards Yilong. The battle was about to end. Ling Zhao, do you really think that you have won? Yilong suddenly sneered. An incomparably strange expression appeared in his eyes. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he suddenly felt that something was amiss. Rumble. The ground shook violently as the surrounding void rumbled. At that moment, the void suddenly shattered. Swoosh! 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 One by one, powerful figures came across the sky. They were as fast as lightning and their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Those were the sky prides of the trial challengers who had entered the burial desert. It was as if they had made an agreement. They all moved through the air and arrived here. Moreover, they were faintly approaching the clouds. Ba Dao, Tong Tong, and the other two were surrounded as they exuded an extremely strong hostility. Whoosh! When the sky prides of the trial challengers arrived, Feng Fan, Ying Yilong, and the others seemed to have discussed it beforehand, as they did not continue to attack Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Instead, they quickly retreated and entered the crowd. Ling Xiao, do you really think that you have offended the 8 Dragon Kings? You have offended all the trial challengers. Let's see how you can survive today. Ying Yilong sneered. Ba Dao, your talent is not bad. If you join me now, you might be able to keep your life. Following Ling Xiao will only lead to death. Feng Fan stared at Ba Dao and said coldly. Join you? You can't even withstand my blade. What qualifications do you have to accept my offer? Ba Dao sneered. You are courting death. If that's the case, then all of you can die together. Feng Fan sneered. There were at least 800 sky prides of the trial challengers here. With so many experts attacking at the same time, no matter how strong Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's forces were, they would definitely die. Among the sky prides of the trial challengers, there was no lack of mid-level and high-level imperial emperors. Have we fallen into an ambush? Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment before he smiled faintly. Seems like it. Big brother, it must be that despicable Zhu Chen's doing. Only the Guardian can locate the 3 of us. Ba Dao said coldly. Zhu Chen. Brother Ling Xiao, it seems like he still hasn't given up on his evil intentions. Tong Tong said with a smile. There was no trace of worry on his face. Chapter 3161. Oh. In Tong Tong's opinion, where is Zhu Chen now? Ling Xiao smiled. I'm guessing he'll definitely come here. After all, he won't miss such a good show. Why don't we wait for him? Tong Tong said with a smile. No problem, we'll listen to Tong Tong. Ling Xiao patted Tong Tong's head and smiled. Seeing that Ling Xiao, Ba Dao, and Tong Tong were still chatting happily, the killing intent in the eyes of the crowd grew stronger. How dare you? Ling Xiao, you're about to die. Why aren't you kneeling and begging for mercy? I didn't expect that you, the chosen one, would willingly become a robber. You're simply degenerating. Everyone has the right to kill a demon like you. Everyone, the robber is our greatest enemy. If he doesn't die, we will. No matter what, we can't let him escape today. Kill him. Many of the trial challengers shouted angrily. The killing intent in their eyes was so strong that it seemed to have materialized. Ling Xiao, do you really think that only young Master Feng Fan and I are dealing with you? We're just holding you back. Your identity as a robber has been exposed. You're the enemy of the entire world. There's no place for you in the entire Burial Desert or even Eternal Emperor Road. Why aren't you coming out to die? Ying Yilong sneered. Ling Xiao, blame yourself for becoming a robber. You're about to die, and you still want to put up a desperate struggle? Feng Fan said coldly. Robber? That's a good excuse. Tong Tong, it seems like you've guessed correctly. Zhu Chen really did slander me as a robber. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he smiled faintly. Zhu Chen, come out. Ba Dao roared, killing intent boiling in his eyes. Currently, he was extremely disgusted with Zhu Chen. Zhu Chen had schemed against him and Tong Tong, and even cursed Tong Tong. Now, he had schemed against Ling Xiao at the same time. He had never thought that the human heart could be so sinister. Zhu Chen, your plan is complete. Aren't you going to come out and enjoy this moment? Ling Xiao's gaze fell on the crowd of trial challengers as he said indifferently. Whoosh! 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 Right at this moment, space trembled slightly while dazzling and resplendent light flashed. Zhu Chen wore white clothes and held a folding fan in his hand. He had a handsome appearance and an extraordinary bearing, and he brought along a group of maidservants that wore light gauze as they strode through space. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, looking very gentle. His eyes were bright and bright, as if he was the focus of this world. As soon as he appeared, he took away everyone's attention. It's young Master Zhu Qin. Greetings, young Master Zhu Qin. After seeing Zhu Qin, many trial challengers and geniuses came up to greet him. Even the proud geniuses with powerful cultivation bases nodded their heads in acknowledgement. Zhu Qin appeared in front of Ling Xiao like the leader of the many trial challengers. Ling Xiao, I really didn't expect you to be a robber. It was really too disappointing. Back in the day, how revered was the celestial emperor of the human race. You are a disgrace to the human race. Zhu Qin glanced at Ling Xiao and sighed softly, as though he was lamenting the state of the universe and the fate of mankind. Robbers? What proof do you have that I'm a robber? Ling Xiao stopped the furious Ba Dao and smiled faintly. Ling Xiao, do you still want to quibble? Ying Yilong sneered and said, your fighting style is obvious to all. You cultivate the fist Dao, perhaps the chaos Dao or the five elements Dao, but it is definitely not the poison Dao. However, you possess the poison Dao origin and cured Ba Dao's sister of the heaven burial poison. Don't tell me that you cultivate both the fist Dao and the poison Dao at the same time. That's right. All of us have only condensed a single Dao of origin. There are only two types of people who can condense multiple Dao of origin. Either they are peerless imperial emperors who have reached the pinnacle of one Dao of origin before condensing a second Dao of origin. Or they are Dao robbers. Are you going to tell everyone that your Dao origin has reached the peak? Feng Fan also sneered. Everyone's eyes were incomparably cold as they landed on Ling Xiao. The killing intent and cold light became more and more intense. It seems that I really can't explain myself. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. You admit that you are a robber? Ling Xiao, seeing that you are the chosen one, if you cripple your own cultivation, I can make the decision to spare your life. Zhu Chen's eyes flashed as he smiled gently. Robber? I am not a robber. As for how I cured Tong Tong, what does it have to do with you? All of this is just your guess. If I guess that you, Zhu Chen, are a robber, does everyone want to kill you? Ling Xiao sneered. It seems that you are still stubborn even today. Zhu Chen sighed softly. Young Master Zhu Chen, you are kind-hearted, but you must not be soft-hearted. That bastard Ling Xiao is a robber, so he's our public enemy. We must tear him into 1,000 pieces and kill him. Someone shouted loudly. That's right. Young Master Zhu Chen, Ling Xiao must die. You don't have to say any more. Let's attack together. No matter how powerful he is, he must die. Someone sneered. Wait. At this moment, an anxious voice was heard. The Tower Master of Azure Heaven, Fairy Jinghong, and a few girls from the Feather Tribe flew over. Each of them was elegant and pure. Everyone, please listen to me. I can guarantee that Ling Xiao is not a robber. Please don't be rash. Fairy Jinghong stood in front of Ling Xiao and said sincerely to the crowd. This stupid woman again. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He was both amused and touched. At this moment, Fairy Jinghong still dared to stand up and stop him. It's Fairy Jinghong. Someone exclaimed in surprise. Fairy Jinghong was a genius of the Feather Tribe and was known as the #1 beauty in Candle Dragon Imperial City. She had countless admirers. No one expected her to stand up for Ling Xiao. Moreover, when they saw how certain Fairy Jinghong was that Ling Xiao was not a robber, they were a little doubtful. Fairy Jinghong. Fairy Jinghong, how can you guarantee that? Ling Xiao is a robber. This is already an irrefutable fact. Could it be that you don't care about right and wrong for the sake of your lover? A tinge of jealousy flashed across Zhu Chen's eyes as he sneered coldly. Lover? Fairy Jinghong is having an affair with Ling Xiao. How is that possible? someone exclaimed, his eyes filled with disbelief. Instantly, Ling Xiao felt the hatred and murderous intent in everyone's eyes. They couldn't wait to tear him into pieces. This stupid woman. I'm afraid there's no turning back now. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly in his heart. Don't listen to Zhu Chen's nonsense. I have nothing to do with Ling Xiao, but I believe that he's not a robber. Zhu Chen, what are you trying to do by deliberately going against Ling Xiao? Fairy Jinghong stared at Zhu Chen and said coldly. Fairy Jinghong, you've wrongly accused me. I have no enmity with Ling Xiao. Why would I go against him? However, he's a robber and everyone's enemy. Therefore, he must die today. Zhu Chen said to Fairy Jinghong with a bitter smile. Such superb acting skills instantly deceived everyone, causing the killing intent around them to burn even more fiercely. Chapter 3162. Fairy Jinghong, thank you for speaking up for me. However, I'm afraid you won't be able to resolve today's matter. Zhu Chen is determined to kill me. You'd better back off lest you get splashed with my blood. Ling Xiao said to Fairy Jinghong with a smile. You still have the cheek to say that? Fairy Jinghong was instantly enraged by Ling Xiao's words. Ling Xiao, if you hadn't stirred up trouble everywhere, how would it have led to such a situation? If your cultivation isn't good enough, you should behave yourself. Why do you have to stir up trouble? Is Zhu Chen someone you can afford to offend? Fairy Jinghong stared at Ling Xiao and said angrily. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. Fairy Jinghong, I don't want to stir up trouble either. However, I can't be afraid of trouble, right? Some people are just looking for trouble. Since that's the case, I'll teach him a lesson today. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Fairy Jinghong, remember not to leave our side later. Charge out with us. Otherwise, don't blame me for not reminding you if you die in the hands of the sky-burying ant. Ling Xiao secretly transmitted his voice to Fairy Jinghong. What? Sky-burying ant? Where is the sky-burying ant? After hearing Ling Xiao's words, Fairy Jinghong was stunned. Her eyes were filled with vigilance as she scanned the surroundings. Ling Xiao ignored her and gave Tong Tong a look. Brother Ling Xiao, don't worry. Everything has been arranged. Since these guys don't know what's good for them, we'll teach them a lesson they won't forget. Tong Tong said with a smile. Buzz. In her small hand, a bright light ball floated in the void. It emitted a mysterious and bright light as if there was nectar flowing in it. For some reason, when Zhu Chen saw the light ball in Tong Tong's palm, his heart skipped a beat and he felt a strong sense of danger. Everyone, let's kill them together. Zhu Chen instantly roared. His eyes were filled with an incomparably sharp killing intent. Boom! The blazing light around him rose, and a giant palm print appeared in the air. It came down majestically like an immemorial divine mountain, pressing down on Ling Xiao and the others. Kill! Kill them! Kill the robbers! Many of the trial challengers and geniuses roared in unison, their eyes filled with kindness. There was also a hint of burning greed. Almost everyone charged towards Ling Xiao at the same time. Ling Xiao was the chosen one and possessed the heavenly fate. As long as they killed him, they would be able to inherit his heavenly fate. This was an unbearable temptation for every trial challenger. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled as blazing divine light swept out in all directions. Streaks of divine rainbows swept across the sky, containing incomparably powerful waves of attack. The geniuses of the trial immediately executed their powerful secret techniques, weapons, and even monarch arts. Their attacks rained down on Ling Xiao and the others like a storm. You're courting death. Ling Xiao sneered as a divine light flashed in his eyes. Boom! He soared into the air, and the chaotic light around him rose. In an instant, it spread out in all directions. It was like a chaotic realm that enveloped the entire universe and the 9 heavens and 10 lands. He punched out, and an incomparably powerful primordial chaos fist imprint containing an eternal and immortal fist imprint shot towards the crowd. Crack! Heaven and earth shook, and the void in all directions was distorted. Ling Xiao's domineering primordial chaos fist imprint instantly destroyed all the attacks and sent dozens of trial challengers flying. Ling Xiao stood in the midst of the dazzling divine light. His aura soared, and he was so powerful that he was unbeatable. What? He's that strong? Fairy Jinghong's eyes widened instantly, her eyes filled with disbelief. This was the first time she had seen Ling Xiao in action. Outside Candle Dragon Imperial City, although Ling Xiao had killed the 9th dragon god with a single strike, she had not seen it with her own eyes. Moreover, she did not think much of a low-level emperor. However, the invincible aura that Ling Xiao displayed now made her, a high-level sovereign emperor, feel disbelief. Her beautiful eyes rippled with extraordinary splendor. I knew it. This guy is not simple. Tower Master Bai Luo said with a smile. The curiosity in her eyes towards Ling Xiao intensified. What kind of person was he? Rumble. Right at that moment, the ball of light in Tong Tong's hand exploded. Dazzling rain of light sprinkled down. The golden light was resplendent and incomparably mysterious. Moreover, it emitted a strange fragrance that spread out in all directions. At the same time, an extremely ancient sound rang out, as if it was summoning some kind of existence. That sound made everyone's heart skip a beat. As for Zhu Chen, after he had struck out with his palm, he had already retreated silently and hid outside the crowd. His eyes were filled with caution. Could it be? Zhu Chen suddenly thought of something. His eyes narrowed, and his face was filled with disbelief. Rumble. At that moment, the ground shook and the void distorted. An extremely ferocious aura exploded. The crowd did not even have the time to be shocked by Ling Xiao's terrifying strength before they were shocked by the scene before them. In the yellow sand that filled the sky, 10 feet tall ants came from all directions and spread out like a tide. Those ants exuded an incomparably ferocious baleful aura. Their eyes were blood red, their limbs were sharp, and their bodies contained explosive power. Especially on their limbs, the blades flickered with a strange black light and emitted an incomparably powerful poisonous mist, causing people to tremble. Most of the ants were black, but there were a few hundred silver ants among them. Those silver ants were larger, stronger, and more ferocious. Sky-burying ant. These 3 words appeared in everyone's hearts at the same time. Instantly, an incomparably terrified expression appeared on their faces. Sky-burying ant, the most terrifying existence in the burial desert. It was not to say that the sky-burying ant was very strong. There were many existences in the burial desert that were more dangerous than the sky-burying ant. However, the number of sky-burying ants was extremely terrifying. Every time they came, they would cover the sky and cover the earth. They were like an endless tide. Moreover, no one could cure the sky-burying poison. Once one was poisoned by the sky-burying poison, one would definitely die. Among the sky-burying ants, the black ones were warriors, the silver ones were generals, and the gold ones were kings. Seeing the scene before them, everyone almost fainted. There were tens of thousands of sky-burying ants, and there were even a few hundred silver sky-burying ant generals. Were they going to capture them all in one go? Damn it! Why are there so many sky-burying ants here? Run! If we don't run, we'll all die. Run? How? There are sky-burying ants in all directions. The sky-burying ants can also travel through the void. We have no way out now. Many trial challengers and sky prides were filled with horror. They could not understand why there were so many sky-burying ants here. Chapter 3163. Ling Xiao, it's you. You lured the sky burial ants here. Ying Yilong suddenly looked at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with shock and anger as he roared. That's right. I lured the sky burial ants here. Since you want to kill me, why don't we all die together? Let's see if you can escape from the sky burial ants if you want to kill me. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, his eyes filled with incomparable coldness. Bastard! Ling Xiao, You're indeed a robber. Ling Xiao, you'll die a horrible death. Ling Xiao, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Many trial challengers and sky prides were furious. Their eyes were filled with monstrous rage and murderous intent. If not for the sky burial ants, they would have charged forward and completely shredded Ling Xiao into pieces. Become a ghost? After being poisoned by the sky burial ants, you can't even become a ghost. Tong Tong shook his head and said with a sigh. You really lured the sky burial ants here? Are you crazy? If that's the case, you can't escape either. Fairy Jinghong stared at Ling Xiao and said in disbelief as though she had just met Ling Xiao. Everything about Ling Xiao today had refreshed her understanding of Ling Xiao. This heaven's chosen son was too strange. Of course I lured the sky burial ants here. I can definitely escape. Remember to follow me closely later. Otherwise, if you fall into the sky burial ants, I can't save you. Ling Xiao said with a smile, bastard. Fairy Jinghong clenched her fists. Although she was furious with Ling Xiao, she felt a little relieved. Everyone saw it, right? Ling Xiao must be a robber. He's so crazy that he lured the sky burial ants here. From now on, he's the public enemy of all of us. Everyone, attack together. Even if we die, we have to kill him first. Zhu Qin shouted at the crowd. Young Master Zhu Qin is right. Ling Xiao deserves to die. Kill him first. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation. At this moment, their hatred for Ling Xiao even suppressed their fear of the sky burial ants. The aura around each of them was terrifying beyond compare, and they were preparing a peerless attack. They wanted to kill Ling Xiao with their lives first. However, Zhu Chen's eyes flashed and he left the crowd silently. He wanted to tear open the space and escape from this place. Rumble. However, at this moment, space distorted violently. Terrifying auras rushed into the sky, completely locking down the space in an instant. 36 figures with terrifying auras soared into the sky from the desert. They floated in the sky, exuding an arrogant aura. Those were 36 heaven-burying ants. They were 300 meters tall, and their bodies looked like they were cast from gold. They were dazzling with golden light, and they were filled with a sense of beauty. They emitted an incomparably terrifying aura. 36 heaven-burying ant kings. This is too much. 36 heaven-burying ant kings came at once. Ba Dao's and Tong Tong's expressions changed. Ling Xiao, Ba Dao, and Tong Tong had planned all of this beforehand. They had expected Zhu Qin to deal with them. Therefore, Tong Tong had refined the materials from the 7 heaven-burying ant kings that Ba Dao had killed into a strange liquid that could attract the heaven-burying ants and cause them to go crazy. However, Ba Dao and Tong Tong had not expected to attract so many heaven-burying ants. Moreover, there were 36 heaven-burying ant kings. Tong Tong could not help but look at his brother. Ba Dao's heart skipped a beat. He quickly waved his hand and said, "Don't look at me. Even if I use the forbidden saber, I won't be able to kill many heaven-burying ant kings. Instead, they will take revenge on us. At that time, none of us will be able to escape. Brother, you're useless. It seems like we can only rely on Brother Ling Xiao now." Tong Tong said helplessly. Ba Dao suddenly felt that he was injured. Rumble. The 36 heaven-burying ant kings appeared in the sky as if they were extremely intelligent. They were not in a rush to attack. Instead, they sealed off the space around them. Beams of resplendent light shot into the sky like divine chains of order. The seal that the 36 sky-burying ant kings had set up together was like a huge prison, sealing everyone within. The eyes of the 36 heaven-burying ant kings were extremely cold with a tremendous murderous intent. They locked onto the cultivators below them. Meanwhile, Zhu Qin did not manage to escape in the end. He was knocked back. Damn it! Zhu Chen's expression instantly turned unpleasant. Everything was going according to his plan, but he never thought Ling Xiao and Tong Tong would be able to attract the heaven-burying ants. The crowd was in a panic when they saw so many heaven-burying ants. They could barely take care of themselves, let alone Ling Xiao, 36 heaven-burying ant kings. It seems like most of the cultivators are going to die to the heaven-burying ant kings. How pitiful. Ling Xiao said with a sigh. Stop being so pretentious, isn't this what you were hoping for? Hurry up and think of a way. We won't be able to escape when the heaven-burying ants attack. Fairy Jinghong rolled her eyes at him. Are you so sure that I have a plan? Ling Xiao asked with great interest. You asshole might like to stir up trouble, but I don't think you're crazy enough to seek your own death. Cut the crap, hurry up and think of a way. Fairy Jinghong urged him. Roar! 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 Meanwhile, the 36 sky-burying ant kings roared furiously at the same time. Their voices were like rolling thunder that shook the sky. It was the signal to attack. When the tens of thousands of heaven-burial ants in the surroundings heard the roar, all of them roared toward the sky. At the same time, a murderous aura filled their eyes. Their killing intent was incomparably blazing as they instantly launched an assault. It was as if a huge wave had swept through the world. Endless heaven-burial ants came charging over, covering the sky and covering the earth as they charged towards the trial challengers. Let's go. Otherwise, we're all going to die. Zhu Chen roared anxiously. He no longer held back and attacked immediately. Rumble. A blazing light rose from his body as a silver-white ancient sword appeared in his palm. Sword chi swept across the place with unparalleled sharpness. Every slash was able to take the life of a heaven-burying ant, 8th Heaven Imperial Emperor. What a powerful cultivation. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He finally saw Zhu Chen's true cultivation. He was an 8th Heaven Imperial Emperor, only a step away from becoming a peerless Imperial Emperor. He was so powerful that the heaven-burying ants could not stop him at all. However, he was soon noticed by the heaven-burying ant kings. In the blink of an eye, several sky-burial ant kings soared through the air and charged towards Zhu Chen. Brother Ling Xiao, what should we do? Tong Tong asked Ling Xiao. Ba Dao, Fairy Jinghong, the Tower Master of Heaven, and the rest of the Feather Tribe were looking at Ling Xiao. They had unknowingly treated Ling Xiao as their backbone. Chapter 3164. What should we do? Of course, we have to fight our way out. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up and he soared into the sky. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook violently. The chaotic fist print was fierce and overbearing. It swept across and instantly blasted the sky-burial ants in front of him. The sky-burying ant's physical body was incomparably tough and powerful. It possessed extreme speed. However, it was still unable to withstand Ling Xiao's ferocious and overbearing fist. Follow me closely. Ling Xiao roared. Like a sharp knife, he took the lead and charged out. Swoosh! 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 Ba Dao, Tong Tong, Fairy Jinghong, and the rest followed Ling Xiao closely and charged into the swarm of sky-burial ants. Rumble! Blazing divine light rose and the void shook. The battle between the heaven-burial ant swarm and the many trial challengers and prodigies instantly erupted. In the sky-burial desert, sand and pebbles flew and the void shook. Terrifying fluctuations swept out in all directions as if they were going to bury all life. Tong Tong, are you ready? Ling Xiao asked Tong Tong after entering the swarm of sky-burial ants. Don't worry, brother Ling Xiao. I'm ready. I'm just waiting for your order. Tong Tong said with a smile. In that case, let's begin. Ling Xiao nodded and said. Buzz. In an instant, there seemed to be a long rainbow shooting out from Tong Tong's palm. It shone brightly and shrouded everyone in it. A ferocious aura burst out. In an instant, black armor appeared in the sky. Its shape was extremely strange and it covered everyone's body directly. When the divine light dissipated, Ling Xiao and the rest had disappeared. There were only a few sky burial ants left on the spot. However, those sky burial ants did not follow the swarm of sky burial ants to kill the trial challengers. Instead, they kept retreating. The surrounding sky burial ants seemed to be extremely fearful of them, and they scattered to the sides like a tide. This is the shell of the sky burial ants. Fairy Jinghong's incredulous voice rang in Ling Xiao's mind. That's right. This is the armor that Tong Tong refined from the shell of the heaven-burying ant king. Although it looks exactly the same as an ordinary heaven-burying ant, it possesses the pressure of the heaven-burying ant king and can suppress ordinary heaven-burying ants. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. You've made such ample preparations. Did you already know that Zhu Chen would deal with you? Fairy Jinghong found it hard to believe. I don't know who will deal with me, but no matter who it is, this heaven burial ant colony is a surprise that I have left for him. Ling Xiao said indifferently. This guy, Jinghong Fairy, was a little depressed. She had thought that Ling Xiao was arrogant, but she did not expect Ling Xiao to have schemed against everyone. Once the heaven burial ant swarm moved out, more than 80% of the trial takers would probably die. In the blink of an eye, he had killed so many powerful enemies. How could someone with such a temperament be arrogant and conceited? What kind of person is he? Fairy Jinghong's beautiful eyes glowed with a strong sense of curiosity. Everyone, speed up. Our heaven burial ant armor can only temporarily confuse the heaven-burying ants, but it can't fool the heaven-burying ant king. We will definitely be hunted down by the heaven-burying ant king later. The most important thing now is to escape the siege of the ant swarm. Ling Xiao's face suddenly turned serious as he spoke with a solemn expression. Yes. Ba Dao and the others nodded and immediately sped up. Many trial takers and sky prides were now in a tough battle. Each of them unleashed their powerful combat strength and fought the heaven burial ant swarm. However, there were simply too many heaven burial ants. The strange liquid that Tong Tong refined from the corpses of the 7 heaven-burying ant kings not only attracted the heaven-burying ants, but it also completely aroused the hatred in their hearts. In addition, the sky-burying ants had extremely potent sky-burying poison. Many trial challengers and geniuses eventually died in the sky-burying ant swarm after a tough battle. Damn it! Ling Xiao, Ba Dao, I won't let you off. There was no longer a trace of calmness on Zhu Chen's face. He was extremely gloomy and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was besieged by 4 sky-burying ant kings. Divine light blazed all around him, dazzling and resplendent. Moreover, the sky-burying poison enveloped his surroundings like a cloud. Although his battle prowess was great, and he was constantly fighting against the sky-burying ant kings, he was still trapped for a time, unable to break free at all. Feng Fan and Ying Yilong were also entangled with the heaven-burying ant kings. Zhu Chen, Ying Yilong, and the others were extremely anxious when they saw the increasing number of heaven-burying ants. At that moment, Ling Xiao and the others had already silently escaped to the edge of the ant swarm. Roar! An earth-shattering roar was heard. The heaven-burying ant king in the void was shining with golden light as if it was cast from gold. Its extremely cold eyes suddenly landed on Ling Xiao and the others. They had been discovered. After all, a few black heaven-burying ants had a weak ant king's aura. How could this be hidden from the heaven-burying ant king? The dozen or so sky-burying ant kings were completely enraged. Killing intent surged in their eyes. They sensed the aura of the sky-burying ant king's death and immediately charged towards Ling Xiao's group recklessly. They were like golden bolts of lightning, extremely fast. Oh no! We have been discovered. Let's split up. Fairy Jinghong, protect Tong Tong. Ba Dao and I will lure them away. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he hurriedly said. Swoosh! Swoosh! He and Ba Dao instantly increased their speed and moved out of the encirclement of the heaven-burying ant kings. Then, like 2 arrows leaving the bow, they shot towards the distance quickly. Rumble! The dozen heaven-burying ant kings actually split into two groups. Only 2 ant kings led a large number of heaven-burying ants to chase after Fairy Jinghong and the others. Most of the heaven-burying ant kings chased after Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. After all, Ba Dao was the culprit who had killed the 7 ant kings. These heaven-burying ant kings hated him to the core. Therefore, they immediately locked onto Ba Dao and treated him as their greatest enemy. This was what Ling Xiao and Ba Dao meant when they left alone. They were sure that most of the heaven-burying ant kings would chase after them. Tong Tong, let's go. Although Fairy Jinghong's eyes were filled with worry, she gritted her teeth and instantly grabbed Tong Tong's hand. Then, she fled in another direction with the Firmament Tower Master and the Feather Tribe. Sister Jinghong, don't worry. With brother Ling Xiao and my brother together, they will definitely be fine. Tong Tong was not worried at all. He patted Fairy Jinghong's arm and comforted her with a smile. You have confidence in them. Let's leave this place first. Fairy Jinghong said with a helpless smile. Even though the 2 heaven-burying ant kings behind them were extremely powerful, they had significantly reduced the pressure on them. They were extremely fast. Even though the 2 heaven-burying ant kings were still chasing after them, they soon escaped the encirclement of the heaven-burying ant kings and flew towards the boundless desert. Chapter 3165. Ling Xiao and Ba Dao were extremely fast. They were like 2 bolts of lightning as they traversed the burial desert. Without the encirclement of the sky-burying ants, they displayed their extreme speed. They traveled thousands of miles in an instant, causing the void to emit a series of explosions. However, the dozen sky-burying ant kings behind them were also extremely fast. Ling Xiao saw that they had grown a pair of cicada-like wings on their backs. This allowed them to possess strength that was not inferior to Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's. In the blink of an eye, they were 1,000,000 miles away from each other. The burial desert was vast and boundless. Yellow sand and gobi were eternal themes. Ling Xiao and Ba Dao had only encountered 2 or 3 scattered oases over 1,000,000 miles of land. The burial desert was filled with danger. There were all kinds of primitive exotic beasts. However, no primitive exotic beast dared to attack Ling Xiao and Ba Dao during their escape. They had hidden long ago after sensing the aura of the sky-burying ant kings. The sky-burying ant kings were the undisputed overlords of the burial desert. Big brother, we can't keep running like this. Why don't we stop and fight them? Ba Dao's eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight as he spoke to Ling Xiao. You're right. We can't keep running like this. However, I still feel an indescribable sense of danger. It's hidden in the burial desert. No matter how we run, we can't escape from that sense of danger. Therefore, now is not a good time to fight. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. He was extremely sensitive to danger, especially after he had become an emperor with the 12 great Tao origins. His understanding of fate and karma had deepened and he could sense those existences in the unseen world. Ling Xiao could sense that the danger didn't come from the dozen sky-burying ant kings behind him. Instead, it came from the depths of the burial desert. Danger? Ba Dao frowned slightly. That's right. I'm guessing that apart from the dozen sky-burying ant kings behind us, there's something else following us in the depths of the burial desert. Ling Xiao nodded and said. The depths of the burial desert? Could it be? Ba Dao's body shook. His eyes suddenly revealed a trace of disbelief. What do you think? Ling Xiao asked. Big brother, I've heard that the most terrifying thing in the burial desert is the heavenly burial ants. No primeval beast dares to provoke the heavenly burial ants. The heavenly burial ants come in an endless stream. I don't know how many thousands of them there are. But do you know where they come from? Ba Dao's expression was extremely solemn, and he said slowly, according to legend, there's a heaven burial ant queen in the burial desert, and all the heaven burial ants are her descendants and are under the command of the heaven burial ant queen. Even the heaven burying ant king is the descendant of the heaven burying ant queen. Sky burying ant queen. You wouldn't be trying to tell me that it was the Heaven Burial Ant Queen that pursued us in the burial desert, right? Ling Xiao couldn't help but be shocked. The Heaven-Burying Ant King was already so powerful. Moreover, he could easily dispatch 36 Heaven-Burying Ant Kings. Just how powerful was the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen? Peerless monarch? Or a supreme great emperor? Ling Xiao shook his head and rejected this idea. The Buried Sky Ant Queen was definitely not a great emperor because it was impossible for a great emperor to exist on the Eternal Emperor Road. This was the rule of the Heavenly Tao. Even a great emperor couldn't defy this rule. Otherwise, those supreme great emperors would swarm into the Eternal Emperor Road in search of the secret of transcendence. It wouldn't be these young supreme geniuses who would enter the Eternal Emperor Road. However, even a peerless monarch would be difficult to deal with. The Octopus Queen's power was still vivid in his mind. Ling Xiao had no doubt that if the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen existed, she would definitely be far more terrifying than the Octopus Queen. It's very possible. Ba Dao said. If the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen is really pursuing us, why would she hide in the burial desert and not show herself? Ling Xiao asked. Ba Dao was also a little confused and said uncertainly, could it be that she can't leave the burial desert? That should be a possibility. No matter what, let's get rid of the danger in the desert first. Ling Xiao said slowly, his eyes shining brightly. Swoosh! Swoosh! The two of them unleashed their extreme speed, and more than a dozen Heaven-Burying Ant Kings followed closely behind them. In the blink of an eye, they had flown tens of millions of miles. Ba Dao, I found a problem. Every time we come across an oasis, forest, or lake, the existence in the burial desert will deliberately avoid it. Ling Xiao transmitted his voice to Ba Dao. Deliberately avoid it? You're saying that the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen is afraid of oases, forests, and lakes? Ba Dao asked. To be precise, it should be afraid of life. It's the same for the dozen Heaven-Burying Ant Kings, but they should be less affected. We need to verify it again. If that's the case, I think I've found a way to get rid of these Heaven-Burying Ant Kings. Ling Xiao said slowly. We're very far away from the Heaven-Burying Ant Colony. However, if the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen is in the desert, we can't rule out new dangers. The best way is to kill those Heaven-Burying Ant Kings once and for all. Ba Dao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. You'll get what you want. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. They flew for another few million miles, and the verification in Ling Xiao's heart was gradually confirmed. The existence in the burial desert was indeed afraid of life. That kind of fear was different from the fear of the Heaven-Burying Ant Kings. The existence in the desert would automatically avoid an oasis when it was tens of thousands of feet away. In this way, Ling Xiao could choose to fight the Heaven-Burying Ant Kings with ease. Rumble. A terrifying storm swept across the land in front of them. It was mixed with blazing lightning and contained an extremely violent and destructive aura. Charge over. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he roared. Without the slightest hesitation, he charged over. Ba Dao also followed closely behind. Rumble. The blazing teardrop struck Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Chaotic light rose around Ling Xiao's body. His body was indestructible, and the destructive lightning couldn't do any harm to him. On the other hand, Ba Dao was surrounded by blazing saber radiance. It was like a boundary that completely enveloped him, blocking the attack of the wind and lightning. However, their speed wasn't affected at all. They charged out of the storm in an instant. That's... Ba Dao's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. A vast forest appeared in front of him and Ling Xiao. It was green and full of vitality. It stretched as far as the eye could see. Chapter 3166. The forest was filled with towering ancient trees. Trees that were hundreds of meters tall and even thousands of meters tall could be seen everywhere. It was shrouded in mist and rays of light. It looked extremely dreamy. The thunderstorm that Ling Xiao and Ba Dao had passed through was like a barrier between life and death. It had completely separated the forest from the burial desert. That is the burial place that we have chosen for the burial ants, Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. His eyes were filled with an extremely strong fighting spirit. Buzz! At that moment, he and Ba Dao heard the sound of something tearing through the air behind them. The dozen burial ant kings had also passed through the thunderstorm. Let's go! Ling Xiao shouted. Instantly, he and Ba Dao dashed into the vast forest in front of them. Rumble! After a while, 16 burial ant kings that were hundreds of meters tall appeared in their original position. Their bodies looked as though they were cast in gold. They were dazzling with golden light and exuded an extremely powerful aura. They have entered the forbidden forest. What should we do? We are not allowed to enter the forbidden forest. Otherwise, we will be in big trouble. But what about the revenge of our brothers? That damned enemy is in the forbidden forest. Are we going to give up just like that? The Saint Empress is just outside the forbidden forest. Why don't we ask the Saint Empress to make a decision? That is the only way. The 16 burial ant kings' eyes were blood red. Their killing intent was overwhelming. Powerful mental fluctuations intertwined with each other as they communicated. Facing the mysterious forest in front of them, they hesitated. At the same time, Ling Xiao and Ba Dao had already entered the forest. They stopped outside the forest. Could it be that they are afraid of the forest and don't dare to enter? Ba Dao said in surprise. That should be the case. If the burial ant queen in the desert is afraid of life, then they might be afraid of the forest. However, I have a feeling that the burial ant queen is up to no good. We can't let the dozen burial ant kings go just like that. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. Then should we lure them in? Ba Dao said eagerly. He was a battle maniac in his bones, and he never knew what fear was. Facing the 16 sky-burying ant kings, not only was he not afraid at all, but his heart was also burning with fighting spirit. Previously, he had used the forbidden blade to kill 7 sky-burial ant kings. Now that he had teamed up with Ling Xiao, he might be able to kill the 16 sky-burial ant kings as well. These 16 heaven-burying ant kings might know something about the heaven-burying ant queen. Killing them should help us explore the heaven-burying desert. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply. Get ready for battle. Then, a bright light shone from his palm. In an instant, a bunch of messy things were thrown out by him. Rumble. The heaven-devouring fire rose from his palm, blazing and dazzling. It instantly enveloped those messy things, and then began to burn fiercely. The bodies of the 16 sky-burying ant kings involuntarily trembled. The murderous intent in their eyes instantly soared to the extreme. They went completely berserk. Big brother, you're too ruthless. Ba Dao's eyelids twitched as he licked his lips. His eyes were filled with an extremely strong fighting spirit. He finally realized that the messy things that Ling Xiao had thrown out were the severed limbs of the 7 sky-burial ant kings that he had killed. After the 7 heaven-burying ant kings were killed by Ba Dao, Tong Tong used a portion of their bodies to create a liquid that attracted the heaven-burying ants, as well as a heaven-burying ant armor that concealed their auras. The remaining limbs were all given to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's actions were simply provocative. Throwing out the severed limbs of the 7 sky-burying ant kings wasn't enough. He had even triggered the heaven-devouring fire and burned them completely. The severed limbs of the 7 sky-burying ant kings were quickly reduced to ashes. The anger of the 16 sky-burying ant kings completely erupted. Roar, you're courting death. Kill them. The 16 sky-burying ant kings were completely enraged. They had the intelligence of a normal human and they also had various emotions. After being provoked by Ling Xiao, they immediately forgot about the forbidden forest and only had one thing on their minds. That was to kill Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Rumble. The 16 sky-burying ant kings burst forth with terrifying and dazzling light at the same time. They were like 16 dazzling suns as they rumbled towards Ling Xiao and Ba Dao to suppress them. Big brother, do you dare to compete and see who can kill more? The sharpness in Ba Dao's eyes instantly became extremely bright. Let's try. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Rumble. Ba Dao couldn't help but make the first move. An earth-shattering saber radiance instantly expanded in the void. It was dazzling like the Milky Way descending from the 9 heavens. It contained an extremely powerful saber intent as it shrouded the sky-burying ant kings. Ba Dao's body exuded boundless saber intent as his aura rose to the extreme. His entire body exuded a domineering and ancient aura. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 6th heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm. At this moment, he actually showed signs of breaking through to the 7th heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm. Is he about to break through? Very good. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up as he muttered to himself softly. Rumble. Ling Xiao's chaotic fist print was unparalleled as he faced the sky-burying ant kings that were charging towards him. Although Ling Xiao was only a middle-level imperial emperor, he did not seem to take the group of sky-burying ant kings seriously at all. The unparalleled chaotic fist print pressed down like a mountain and instantly collided with one of the sky-burying ant kings. The sky-burying ant king's forelimbs were extremely sharp and shone with a dazzling golden radiance. When they collided with Ling Xiao's chaotic fist print, blazing sparks instantly erupted. However, an unparalleled divine power attacked and the sky-burying ant king was sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch. Its sharp forelimbs could not cause any harm to Ling Xiao at all. It only left a white mark on Ling Xiao's fist. Kill! Ling Xiao's roar was like divine thunder from the 9 heavens as it rumbled. He pushed the chaotic light forward, and the void around him shook. 3,000 worlds appeared, and the primordial immortal body was fully activated by him. His entire body exploded with a strong divine might, and it pressed down on the sky-burying ant king. Although the sky-burying ant king was hundreds of feet tall, he felt extremely small at this moment. It was as if he was facing an invincible emperor in the primordial immortal world. In an instant, several sky-burying ant kings that wanted to fight Ling Xiao head-on were sent flying by Ling Xiao. They crashed heavily into the forest in the distance, smashing dozens of towering ancient trees into dust. Crack! The void shook and the earth rumbled. Chapter 3167. Boom! Ling Xiao was like a human-shaped tyrannosaurus, pushing the sun, moon, and stars as he moved. His body exuded an unparalleled and vast fist aura. He attacked from the sky. Every punch he threw could send the sky-burying ant king flying. The sky-burying ant king's strength was extremely terrifying. Even an ordinary high-level imperial emperor might die in the sky-burying ant king's hands. However, the sky-burying ant king did not pose much of a threat to Ling Xiao. The sky-burying ant king's most powerful sky-burying poison had no effect on Ling Xiao. The sky-burying ant king's tough shell could not withstand Ling Xiao's unparalleled fist. The sky-burying ant king had divine strength and was good at close combat. However, it encountered Ling Xiao, whose physical body was even more terrifying. Naturally, it was extremely tragic. Most importantly, Ling Xiao realized that the sky-burying ant king seemed to be suppressed in this forest. Its strength had decreased significantly. There's something strange about this forest. A thought appeared in Ling Xiao's mind. Rumble. His fists traversed the void. One fist was for destruction while the other fist was for vitality. The fist of epoch and the fist of creation alternated. It was unstoppable as if it could penetrate everything. Crack! The tough shell of the sky-burying ant king was shattered by his fist. The golden runes exploded and faint golden blood flowed out. The sky-burying ant king roared furiously in pain. Golden flames seemed to rise around his body as he charged toward Ling Xiao. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were like iron. His figure was extremely fast. He pointed in the air and a finger light pierced through the void, causing the surrounding space to distort violently. He arrived in front of the sky-burying ant king in an instant. Puff! Blood filled the air. Ling Xiao's finger was extremely fast. It contained the power of time and destruction. It directly pierced through the sky-burying Ant King's eyes and pierced its head. Age Destruction Finger. Ling Xiao used the unparalleled divine strength of an imperial emperor to perform the Age Destruction Finger. An extremely terrifying power erupted and instantly blew up the sky-burying Ant King's head. Rumble. Sky-devouring fire rose around Ling Xiao and enveloped the sky-burying Ant King in an instant. It began to roast its flesh and blood and pulled out its primordial spirit and suppressed it. A heaven-burying Ant King had fallen. The remaining heaven-burying Ant Kings were both shocked and furious. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They could feel that Ling Xiao's cultivation aura was not strong, but they could not figure out why Ling Xiao's strength was so terrifying. Ling Xiao had killed a sky-burying Ant King. Not only was this not enough to frighten them, but it also made them even more ferocious. All of them charged towards Ling Xiao without any fear of death. Boom! 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 Towering ancient trees exploded one after another. Terrifying shockwaves swept out in all directions, causing the ground to rumble as spiderweb-like cracks appeared. On the other side, Ba Dao's aura had also risen to its peak. His eyes were filled with an incomparably powerful fighting spirit. He already had the experience of fighting against the sky-burying Ant Kings. Furthermore, he had killed his way out of the sky-burying desert and even killed 7 sky-burying Ant Kings. Now that he was facing even more sky-burying Ant Kings, even though they posed an even greater threat to him, it also gave him an opportunity to break through. Rumble. Saber intent rose from Ba Dao's body. His eyes were incomparably sharp. He seemed to have transformed into a peerless demonic saber, exuding an unparalleled aura. The radiance around his body was resplendent, and his aura became more and more terrifying. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt. He did not use the forbidden saber. Instead, he used various emperor techniques such as the heavenly tyrant slash to fight against his enemies. It was hard to tell who would win the battle against the sky-burying Ant Kings. In Ba Dao's eyes, an incomparably powerful saber intent condensed and gradually turned into a black saber light. The saber light seemed illusory in the beginning. However, it began to solidify in the end. When the saber light finally solidified, Ba Dao's aura rose to its peak. Break! He suddenly let out a loud roar, his eyes filled with incomparably maniacal killing intent. The aura around him rose like a surging river. His cultivation instantly broke through from the 6th heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm to the 7th heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm. An advanced Imperial Emperor. Although it was only a small breakthrough, it was a qualitative leap. Especially for a peerless sky pride like Ba Dao. The sky-burying Ant Kings in front of him had made him feel extremely pressured. However, that pressure seemed to have disappeared now. Now, the hunt begins. The corner of Ba Dao's mouth curled into a cruel killing intent. Rumble. The killing intent around him was extremely terrifying. It contained dark, brutal, frenzied, and ancient fluctuations. It was like a chaos demon god that had been suppressed in hell for hundreds of millions of years had broken out. He exuded an insufferably arrogant aura. Avicii Hell's demon burial saber. Ba Dao gently spat out a few incomparably cryptic syllables. The killing intent around him instantly boiled to the extreme. A black saber light cut across the sky. It contained extreme killing power. The darkness was extremely dense. The sky-burying Ant King in front of Ba Dao did not seem to be able to resist at all. It was instantly cut in half by the saber. Boom! Just as the sky-burying Ant King was cut in half, the primordial spirit of the sky-burying Ant King shattered instantly. It turned into an extremely cold corpse that fell from the void. The first one. Ba Dao's eyes, which were filled with killing intent, landed on the remaining sky-burying Ant Kings. In an instant, a black saber light rushed over again like a black saber light. Swoosh! 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 The black saber light seemed to be able to shatter everything. The sky-burying ant king's sturdy outer shell was unable to withstand Ba Dao's forbidden saber. The taboo saber contained the legendary taboo power, the power of transcendence. It was an invincible saber technique. If Ling Xiao had not had so many trump cards in his previous battle with Ba Dao, he would have been caught off guard and died under the forbidden saber. Ling Xiao finally understood why Ba Dao had been able to kill 7 sky-burying ant kings consecutively and escape Burial Desert. The forbidden saber was indeed terrifying. Rumble. Ling Xiao was shocked by the forbidden saber's terror. However, he did not show any dissatisfaction when he attacked. The chaotic fist print pierced through the void and sealed off the escape route of one of the sky-burying ant kings. In the end, it pressed down from the sky and blasted the sky-burying ant king into dust. Brute force defeats 10. Ling Xiao's physical body was unparalleled and he possessed indescribably terrifying divine power. Even the great desolation beasts could not be compared to him. Therefore, the sky-burying ant kings were merely slightly stronger targets in front of him. Rumble. Ling Xiao's fist print was unparalleled as it swept through the sky-burying ant kings. None of the sky-burying ant kings were a match for him. However, in terms of efficiency in killing the sky-burying ant kings, he was far inferior to Ba Dao. Ba Dao's cultivation had broken through to the 7th heaven of the Imperial Lord Realm. When he executed the Avicii Hell's demon burial saber, he seemed to have transformed into the god of slaughter. The saber light was unparalleled and in the blink of an eye, 5 sky-burying ant kings had died under his saber. The remaining sky-burying ant kings were finally afraid. Although they were not afraid of death, they still felt despair and terror in the face of such an extreme massacre. The battle intent in their hearts began to dissipate slowly. Chapter 3168. Let's go. The 2 of them are too powerful. Saint Empress, please kill them. As long as they are in Burial Desert, they will definitely die. The eyes of the remaining sky-burying ant kings were filled with both shock and anger. They wanted to fly out of the forbidden forest. You want to leave? Not so fast. Ba Dao's eyes were filled with killing intent. The saber essence around him was blazing like a black sea that covered the sky. The Avicii Hell Demon's burial saber was strange and could destroy everything. In Ba Dao's hands, it exploded with unimaginable power. Poof! In an instant, another burial ant king could not dodge in time and was cut in half by Ba Dao. His primordial spirit was destroyed and he died. Swoosh! 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 Ba Dao's speed was extremely fast. The saber radiance intertwined like an inescapable net that blocked the escape route of the burial ant kings. Rumble. Ling Xiao's fist prints were unparalleled. Every punch was like an ancient divine mountain that suppressed everything and sent the burial ant kings flying. Under the combined efforts of Ling Xiao and Ba Dao, the sky-burying ant kings were actually trapped in the forest. They were unable to charge into the thunderstorm behind them. Roar! At that moment, an earth-shattering roar exploded in Burial Desert behind the thunderstorm. The terrifying sound wave spread out and caused the thunderstorm to tremble violently. It contained a majestic and mysterious fluctuation. After hearing the roar, all the ant kings seemed to have gone completely berserk. They desperately tried to escape from the forest. Is it the burial ant queen? Ba Dao's eyes flashed with light. It should be. However, there is a tinge of anxiety and fear in the burial ant queen's voice. Could something have happened? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat and he suddenly looked at the forest in the distance. Rumble. In the middle of the forest, a bright green light rose up, containing a tremendous amount of life force. It surged forward like a huge wave. Most importantly, the green light was silent and had escaped Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's senses. If they had not seen it with their eyes, they would have missed it. The green light that swept over caused the eyes of the sky-burying ant kings to be filled with intense fear. Roar! At this moment, outside the thunderstorm, the heaven-burying ant queen's roars grew more and more anxious. Burying heaven ant king is afraid of the green light? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with light. However, Ling Xiao did not feel any threat from the green light. Instead, he felt comfortable all over. Rumble. The sky-burying ant kings all had crazed looks in their eyes. In the face of the threat of death, they charged fearlessly at the defensive line set up by Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. However, under the combined efforts of Ling Xiao and Ba Dao, they were still able to keep them in the forest, preventing them from charging into the thunderstorm. Boom! The green light surged forward silently like a tide. It was extremely quick too. Ling Xiao, Ba Dao, and the rest of the sky-burying ant kings were enveloped by it in an instant. Ling Xiao and Ba Dao shuddered as they felt the green light surge into their bodies. It turned into an extremely powerful life origin that flowed through their bodies in an instant. The life origin in the green light was extremely vast. It was purer than any life origin that Ling Xiao and Ba Dao had ever seen. The two of them felt like they were being nourished and baptized by life. However, the sky-burying ant kings were not so lucky. The sky-burying ant kings trembled violently as the green light washed over them. Cracks appeared on their tough golden carapaces. The black sky-burying poison that seeped out made them even more miserable. Their flesh began to wither at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Brother, look at the corpses of the sky-burying ant kings," Ba Dao said hurriedly. Ling Xiao suddenly turned his head and saw that the corpses of the sky-burying ant kings seemed to be corroded. They sizzled and disappeared without a trace. They had completely merged with the green light. Even the sky-burying ant kings that were still alive were in a miserable state. Their bodies were invaded by the green light. They were in so much pain that they wanted to die. They cried out in agony. The life origin in the green light is actually so effective against the sky-burying ant kings. Ling Xiao thought to himself. His eyes flickered. He immediately made his move. His finger pierced the sky-burying ant king's head like a bolt of lightning. Chains of order soared into the sky, trapping the heaven-burying ant king's soul and dragging it over. Rumble. At this moment, the terrifying green light became completely enraged as if it had a mind of its own. The green light surged and burned fiercely like a flame. It enveloped the sky-burying ant king's body and soul. It even spread towards Ling Xiao through the chains of order. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered sharply. Scorching chaotic light rose up around him at that moment. A powerful force suppressed the green light. Boom! Boom! At the same time, the green light that surged into Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's body burst into flames. It turned into a strange green flame that surrounded them. As I thought, the life origin is just an illusion. I would like to see what it is that can confuse even me, Ling Xiao said with a hollow laugh. Rumble. Lightning blazed around him. A magnificent heavenly might loomed over him. The force of heavenly punishment completely extinguished the green flames. He had attacked the sky-burying ant king's soul because he was suspicious. He wanted to test it out. He now realized that there was indeed something wrong with the green light. The feeling of the life origin surging into his body was just an illusion. It had managed to fool Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's senses. As Ling Xiao made his move, the green light felt threatened. It immediately attacked the two of them. Big brother, these green lights are all creepy little bugs. Could it be that they were born from this forest? Ba Dao said with a solemn expression. He used the forbidden saber. The strange green light seemed to be extremely afraid of his forbidden saber. It was destroyed by the saber light. At this moment, Ba Dao realized that the green light was extremely strange insects. It was difficult to see them clearly with the naked eye, but they were extremely ferocious. Even someone as strong as the sky-burying ant king could not do anything to the green light. It died in an instant and turned into nutrients. Rumble. The green light was like a violent wave that swept out in an instant. It turned into two huge storms that swept Ling Xiao and Ba Dao up and carried them into the depths of the forest. Chapter 3169. Rumble. Lightning blazed all around them, and the light was resplendent. The strange green light completely enveloped Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Moreover, the two of them headed towards the depths of the Forbidden Forest. This is the Forbidden Forest? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a bright light. He and Ba Dao discovered that the strange green light contained an unimaginably terrifying power. It was like a prison that imprisoned the two of them within it. They were unable to escape for a time. However, Ling Xiao did not feel any danger. He seized this opportunity to start soul-searching the soul of the heaven-burying ant king that he'd suppressed. Even though its memories were extremely scattered, it still allowed him to find some information related to this forest. Taboo Forest. The sky-burying ants called this forest the Taboo Forest. Although the sky-burying ants were the overlords of the sky-burying desert, only the Taboo Forest was their taboo territory. They were deeply afraid of the Taboo Forest. Previously, if it wasn't for Ling Xiao's provocation and the fact that Ba Dao had killed 7 Heaven Burial Ant Kings and had a deep enmity with the Heaven Burial Ant Kings, those Heaven Burial Ant Kings might not have dared to chase after them. In the memories of the sky-burying Ant King, the Taboo Forest was a synonym for terror, strangeness, and death. No sky-burying ant dared to enter it. Anyone who entered the Taboo Forest would encounter all sorts of mishaps in the end. However, the sky-burying Ant King did not know exactly what dangers lay within the Forbidden Forest. However, they did have a sky-burying Ant Queen, and that Ant Queen should know some details about the Forbidden Forest. Rumble. Ba Dao's saber intent boiled around him. The saber light was dazzling as it continuously slashed in all directions. He wanted to cut through the strange green light that enveloped them. However, when his saber intent collided with the green light around him, it was as if he had slashed a hard mountain wall. Sparks flew everywhere. Don't waste your energy. This strange green light was enveloped by a type of heavenly Tao law and was very difficult to break. Let's see where this strange green light is taking us. Ling Xiao stopped Ba Dao and said slowly. Big brother, even the heaven-burying ant is afraid of this strange green light. Moreover, it is the heaven-burying ant's nemesis. Could it be left behind by a great emperor? Ba Dao asked curiously. The two of them seemed to be in a space with a radius of about 10 feet. Their surroundings were shrouded in a vast and mysterious green light, like a huge wave, surging violently, pushing them towards the depths of the Forbidden Forest. Although they couldn't break through the surrounding space, they could vaguely see the situation inside the Forbidden Forest. There were many powerful beasts in the Forbidden Forest, and some of them had already gone extinct in the universe. There was a gigantic ape taller than a mountain, a gigantic dragon with a pair of wings on its back, a gigantic crocodile tens of thousands of feet long, a gigantic white tiger with a sharp sword on its head, and a black chelan with a body as black as ink. The auras of those beasts were extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao could sense that most of them were at the Imperial Emperor realm. However, after seeing the green light, those strange beasts looked as if they had seen a ghost. They turned around and fled in terror. Even those strange beasts that couldn't escape in time were swept up by the green light. Their flesh and blood instantly dissipated, and their bodies shook violently. Then, they gradually disappeared within the green light. This scene caused Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's scalps to go numb. The green light contained a vast amount of life essence, but it was like a fatal poison that could bury all life. Ling Xiao and Ba Dao didn't know how long they had been swept away by the green light. Rumble. When a resplendent light rose in front of their eyes, the void shook and distorted violently, and the scene before them gradually became clear. That's... Ba Dao's body suddenly shook, and a trace of disbelief appeared in his eyes. In front of them was a chaotic fog. It was as if they had come to the depths of the earth, and it was extremely dark. However, in the endless chaotic fog, there was a figure sitting cross-legged. It was a middle-aged man in a green robe. Green light rose around his body, and it contained a vast amount of life aura. It made him look lifelike. His face was handsome, and his skin was translucent like glass. His eyes were deep and bright, and they landed on Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's bodies. In an instant, Ling Xiao and Ba Dao felt like they had been seen through. The middle-aged man in the Taoist robe exuded a vast and eternal saber essence. He was like a peerless divine saber, immortal and indestructible. However, for some reason, Ling Xiao felt that the figure was very unreal. It was like a projection. "Brother, this is the forbidden saber spirit." Ba Dao's eyes were filled with excitement as he spoke to Ling Xiao. "Forbidden saber spirit? What's that?" Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but ask. Could it be related to the forbidden saber? After bringing Ling Xiao and Ba Dao to this place, the strange green light around them dispersed and merged into the body of the middle-aged man in the green robe in front of them. A dense mist rose, mysterious and unfathomable. "Brother, the legendary forbidden saber has a total of 4 saber techniques. The Avicii Hell Demon's burial saber that I practice is one of them. These 4 saber techniques gave birth to the 4 forbidden saber spirits, which contained the true meaning of the forbidden saber. Only by merging with the forbidden saber spirits can one practice the forbidden saber. Therefore, those who practice the forbidden saber cannot pass the saber techniques to others unless they are killed and the forbidden saber spirits are forced out of their bodies before merging with them. Moreover, each person can only practice one forbidden saber technique. I already have the Avicii Hell Demon's burial saber. The forbidden saber spirit in front of you is prepared for you. Congratulations." Ba Dao said sincerely. His eyes were filled with excitement. Forbidden saber? Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly. He was not in a hurry to go forward. Instead, he observed the figure in front of him carefully. No wonder he felt that the middle-aged man in the green robe was very unreal. It turned out that he was not a real living being, but a saber spirit evolved from the forbidden saber. However, brother, you must be careful. Merging with the forbidden saber spirit is also a matter of life and death. The forbidden saber spirit is unruly and extremely terrifying. If you are not careful, not only will you not be able to merge with the forbidden saber spirit, you might even become a saber slave. Ba Dao reminded him. I see. In that case, the heaven burial ant is afraid of the forbidden saber spirit? Ling Xiao said slowly. It should be. The forbidden saber spirit contains a forbidden force that can annihilate everything. Furthermore, the 4 forbidden saber spirits have different powers. It's a force that is more terrifying than a monarch technique. It's reasonable for the heaven burial ant to be afraid of the forbidden saber spirit. I suspect that I utilized the taboo saber during the battle with the heaven burying ant and drew the attention of the taboo saber spirit. That's why it brought us here. Ba Dao explained. Chapter 3170. The taboo saber spirit floated in the void before Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. It looked lifelike, like a powerful living being that was cultivating in seclusion. However, it was not a real living being, but a manifestation of the taboo saber skill. It was extremely powerful and indestructible. Ling Xiao naturally coveted the taboo saber. However, Ba Dao could not pass it to him, so he felt a little regretful. Now, the taboo saber spirit had appeared before him. However, it was not easy to merge with the taboo saber spirit and pass the saber spirit's test. Ba Dao had merged with the taboo saber spirit and cultivated the taboo saber, but he had a narrow escape. His soul had almost been destroyed and he would never be reincarnated. After Ba Dao told Ling Xiao about the taboo saber spirit, Ling Xiao walked towards the taboo saber spirit. The taboo saber spirit floated in the void, surrounded by chaotic fog. Green light rose and a powerful life force surged. At the same time, it was accompanied by an unfathomable and vast saber essence. When Ling Xiao walked towards the taboo saber spirit seemed to have awakened. Its gaze was like a bright blade that pierced towards Ling Xiao. Boom! In an instant, Ling Xiao felt as if the world had been split open. The bright saber radiance was dazzling. It split the world and slashed towards him. The saber radiance seemed to have pierced through time and space. It was invisible and formless as it slashed towards Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly. His majestic primordial spirit power rose. The dozens of origin Tao fruits around him intertwined with each other like an inescapable net that enveloped his primordial spirit. Moreover, the saber origin within it rose instantly. It was like a primordial spirit saber that was dazzling. Clang! The two saber radiances collided in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. Sparks flew everywhere, causing his sea of consciousness to shake violently. In the end, the saber radiance was annihilated. It did not cause any damage to Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. However, this was just the beginning. As Ling Xiao walked towards the taboo saber spirit, the taboo saber spirit emitted a terrifying saber essence that was like the power of the heavens. It suppressed Ling Xiao. The strange green light around Ling Xiao's body instantly turned into fine saber radiance. It seemed to be able to destroy everything as it slashed towards Ling Xiao. The surrounding void vibrated, and saber light rose, as if it had turned into a saber domain. The center of Ling Xiao's brow shone brightly. The origin of the saber emerged, causing the saber will to surge around him. It continued to clash with the saber light around him. Rumble. Ling Xiao walked toward the forbidden saber spirit with great difficulty. The horrifying saber intent that the taboo saber spirit emitted was even stronger than Ba Dao's taboo saber. The green saber light had even cut through his flesh and blood and surged into his body, wanting to destroy all of his life force. He could even feel the crisp sound of the green blade cutting into his bones. Ling Xiao felt as if his entire body was about to be completely shattered in this blade domain. A mere saber spirit dares to attack its master. Ling Xiao's voice was thunderous, and his eyes were sharp. Chaotic light rose around him as he radiated with an extremely terrifying aura. In an instant, he tore through the saber light and charged toward the forbidden saber spirit. Tao fruits appeared around him one after another, causing him to exude an aura of invulnerability. A vast devouring power rose and devoured all of the green saber light. Ling Xiao's aura became sharper, like a piece of rock that was gradually being forged into a peerless divine saber. Ba Dao stood in the distance to protect Ling Xiao. His eyes were filled with anticipation. The second taboo saber has appeared. When the fourth taboo saber appears, it should be time for the secret of transcendence, right? Ba Dao thought to himself. The expedition to Eternal Emperor's Road this time was destined to be the most tragic one since ancient times. Countless geniuses had gathered in this era, not only to become an emperor, but also to transcend. For the past 108 eras, countless great emperors and powerful beings had been pursuing the supreme realm. It was about to appear in this era. Ba Dao was naturally looking forward to it. He watched Ling Xiao walking toward the forbidden saber spirit. The terrifying saber intent that the forbidden saber spirit emitted was unable to inflict any damage to Ling Xiao. Instead, it was like a whetstone that sharpened Ling Xiao's saber further. In the end, Ling Xiao arrived before the forbidden saber spirit. "You're here," the forbidden saber spirit said calmly as it fixed its gaze on Ling Xiao. "I'm here." Ling Xiao nodded with a calm look. The forbidden saber spirit before him was extremely unique. It even had its own consciousness, but it could only unleash its power when it was attached to a supreme expert. He wondered how powerful the legendary transcendents were. Even the four saber arts that they had left behind were able to evolve their own consciousness. The forbidden saber is your fortune and destiny. I hope you'll be able to discover the secret of transcendence. The forbidden saber spirit said, giving Ling Xiao a thoughtful look. Bang! Without waiting for Ling Xiao's response, he instantly exploded and turned into a vast expanse of green light. It contained a vast amount of life essence and surged into Ling Xiao's body. At the same time, there was also an extremely sharp blade light within the majestic life essence. It came from the void and slashed toward the void. It was the power of the forbidden saber. Bang! Ling Xiao's divine sense felt like it was being opened up. At that instant, 7 ancient and mysterious words lined up and formed a peerless saber glow. Avicii Hell's heaven-burying saber. The 7 words were so sharp that Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness trembled violently. It emitted a domineering, terrifying, dark, evil, an ancient energy fluctuation, as if it was going to shatter Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. Avicii Hell's heaven-burying saber. So this is the forbidden saber. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Rumble. His entire being was encapsulated by a peerless saber intent. A green glow rose around him as the life force gathered around him. Bolts of lightning flickered in a dazzling manner. Ling Xiao began to merge with the forbidden saber spirit to comprehend the forbidden saber. As Ling Xiao and Ba Dao entered the forbidden forest by mistake and Ling Xiao began to merge with the forbidden saber spirit, a figure with a terrifying aura appeared in the burial desert. Rumble. It was an ancient giant beast that was as tall as an ancient sacred mountain. Its entire body was golden with golden flames flowing around it. Its aura was extremely terrifying. It was a burial ant. However, its aura was much stronger than the burial ant king. Its eyes were like blood moons and they were filled with murderous intent. Roar. An earth-shattering roar was heard, causing the entire burial desert to tremble violently. All the ancient beasts in the burial desert were trembling in fear as they fled in all directions. The most powerful overlord of the burial desert, the burial ant queen, had arrived. Chapter 3171. Rumble. The entire burial desert began to descend into chaos. The appearance of the burial desert's overlord, the burial ant queen, caused all the burial ants hidden in the desert to move out. The sky-burying ants surged like a surging tide and began to chase after the trial takers who had entered the sky-burying desert. Even the ancient beasts in the sky-burying desert were caught in the crossfire. There were massacres everywhere in the burial desert. What's going on? Why did the burial ants suddenly go crazy? The burial ant queen has always been hiding in the burial desert and almost never comes to the surface. Who angered her? Everyone, leave the burial desert quickly. Otherwise, we'll all die here. In the burial desert, many of the trial takers revealed shocked and doubtful expressions. All of them trembled and felt their scalps tingle as they fled in all directions. The heaven-burying ants were very difficult to deal with. Not only were their shells hard, but they could also spit out heaven-burying poison. In addition, the heaven-burying ants appeared in swarms. They were like locusts passing through, leaving not even a blade of grass alive. Almost no trial takers could launch an effective resistance. Once one fell into the burial ants group, there was no chance of survival. Originally, in the battlefield where the 36 burial ant kings were, many trial challengers fought a bloody battle and escaped with great difficulty. However, they did not expect that even more burial ants would appear in the periphery. Everyone began to despair. Other than Zhu Qian, Ying Yilong, Feng Fan, and the others who saw that the situation was not good and charged out, most of the trial challengers were trapped in the burial ants group. Boom! 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 In the burial desert, there was a loud explosion. It was the trial challengers in the burial ants group. After falling into a desperate situation, they self-destructed in despair, killing many burial ants. However, the burial ants were not afraid of death. As if they had gone crazy, they kept attacking the trial challengers. In addition to the burial ants group on the ground of the burial desert, there were also dozens of burial ant kings that were as bright as the sun in the sky. The eyes of the heaven-burying ant kings were blood red, and their killing intent was boiling. Their bodies were shining with golden light, and they moved quickly in the sky as if they were searching for something. The entire sky burial desert seemed to have become a forbidden area. The sky burial ants formed an inescapable net and constantly hunted down numerous trial takers. In the center of the sky burial desert, there was an extremely clear lake. It was enshrouded in mist and auspicious energy. It looked very peaceful. Whoosh! 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 Several air-piercing sounds could be heard as Zhu Qin appeared in the middle of the lake. He looked very embarrassed and his eyes were filled with shock and anger. He fought a bloody battle all the way and exhausted all his trump cards. It wasn't easy for him to kill many heaven-burying ants and escape here. Wang! At the center of the lake, a white-haired old man appeared in front of Zhu Qin. His entire body was radiating with radiance. It was the guardian of the Candle Dragon Imperial City, the Candle Dragon. Greetings, Patriarch. Zhu Chen bowed respectfully to the old man. Get up. The burial desert is in chaos. It's no longer suitable for you to stay here. Leave quickly. The Candle Dragon said slowly. Patriarch, what's going on? Why did the heaven-burying ant queen appear and the heaven-burying ants start to riot? Zhu Chen asked in confusion. Someone touched the thing that the heaven-burying ant queen is guarding. That's why she's angry. I didn't expect that there would be a taboo saber spirit in the burial desert. The Candle Jilin said slowly with a burning gaze in his eyes. Taboo saber spirit? Could it be related to the taboo saber? Zhu Chen's body trembled and he quickly asked. That's right. The taboo saber spirit is the spiritual body of the taboo saber. After merging with the taboo saber spirit, one can obtain the taboo saber. I've been the guardian for so many years. Isn't it because of the taboo saber? The Candle Dragon said flatly. Taboo saber. Zhu Chen's eyes lit up and he suddenly thought of Ba Dao. The Ba Dao that you mentioned earlier is destined to be a taboo saber. I can't snatch his taboo saber spirit and I can't snatch it. As if he could read Zhu Chen's mind, the Candle Dragon said slowly, however, the taboo saber spirit in the burial desert is different. It's an ownerless taboo saber spirit. Even if it has been merged with someone, as long as I kill that person, the taboo saber spirit can still merge with me. Patriarch, is the taboo saber useful to us? Zhu Chen asked. Of course. Although my Torch Dragon tribe managed to escape the great calamity of the epoch by coming to the Eternal Emperor Road, we have also lost all hope of attaining our Tao. Only the Forbidden Saber can touch upon the secret of transcendence and allow my tribe to break the curse of being unable to attain our Tao. The Candle Jilin said slowly with a burning gaze in his eyes. I see. Patriarch, do you know who obtained the taboo saber spirit? Zhu Chen's eyes lit up and he quickly asked. I have some guesses. However, I still need to verify it. I'll know when that person comes out of seclusion. No one in the burial desert can escape from my control. The Candle Dragon said with a faint smile. His eyes were filled with light as if the scene in the burial desert could be seen. It was extremely mysterious and could reflect everything. The riot in the burial desert put Fairy Jinghong, the Tower Master of Azure Heaven, Tong Tong, and the others in danger. They were initially being chased by two sky-burying ant kings, but Fairy Jinghong and the Skyfall Master managed to find the two sky-burying ant kings' openings under Tongtong's command and killed them right away. However, killing two heaven-burying ant kings had instead brought about even greater trouble. Countless burial ants came out of the desert and surrounded Fairy Jinghong and the others like a tide. The densely packed heaven-burying ants numbered in the thousands. In the end, Fairy Jinghong and the others retreated as they fought. They came to a small oasis and were completely surrounded by the burial ant swarm. However, the burial ant swarm seemed to be intimidated by the oasis. They did not attack immediately. They chose to surround the oasis instead. In the end, 6 heaven-burying ant kings appeared from the heaven-burying ant colony. Each of them was over 100 feet tall, and their bodies were glowing with golden light. They were extremely ferocious, and their eyes were filled with bloodthirsty killing intent. Fairy Jinghong and the others were startled. They felt like a great battle was approaching. It was most likely that the burial ant swarm was about to attack. What should we do? Sister Jinghong, there are 6 burial ant kings and countless burial ants here. Once they attack, we won't be able to escape. A woman from the winged tribe said with a pale face. Can't we fight our way out? But we can only fight to the death. I'll think of a way to stop the 6 burial ant kings. Sky Barrier, please protect Tong Tong and the others and bring them out of here. Fairy Jinghong's expression was also incomparably solemn as she revealed a trace of determination. Chapter 3172. Sister Jinghong, you can't stop the 6 sky-burying ant kings alone. Let me help you. Later, we'll create an opportunity for them to leave this place first. The Tower Master of Azure Heaven said slowly with a serious look in her eyes. No. Sister Jinghong, we'll go with you. We'll fight these sky-burying ants. The Feather Race girl said with red eyes. Listen to me. You're the hope of the Feather Race. After leaving the burial desert, find the Empress as soon as possible. Fairy Jinghong's eyes were filled with reluctance, but she still said sternly. Yes. The Feather Race girls nodded dejectedly. Don't worry, I've already contacted my brother. When Brother Ling Xiao and my brother arrive, we'll be able to kill all these animals. Tong Tong wasn't worried at all. She said with a smile. Tong Tong, you've contacted Ling Xiao. How are they now? Fairy Jinghong's eyes lit up as she asked immediately. Not yet. My brother hasn't replied to me. He and Brother Ling Xiao might have entered some secret realm now. However, when my brother sees my message, he'll definitely rush over. Tong Tong said confidently. You haven't contacted them. Tong Tong, Ling Xiao, and Ba Dao probably can't even take care of themselves now. After all, they're being chased by 16 sky-burying ant kings. Fairy Jinghong's eyes were filled with disappointment as she said bitterly. It was hard to say whether Ling Xiao and Ba Dao could escape from the 16 sky-burying ant kings. How could they have the time to save them? Fairy Jinghong only thought that Tong Tong was being childish, so she didn't say anything to discourage her. Sister Jinghong, you've underestimated Brother Ling Xiao. It's one thing for my brother to be exhausted after killing the 7 heaven burial ant kings, but Brother Ling Xiao is different. If he comes, none of the 6 heaven burial ant kings will be able to escape. Tong Tong said with a smile. Her voice was filled with disdain when she mentioned Ba Dao, but her voice was filled with admiration when she mentioned Ling Xiao. You're confident in him. Fairy Jinghong shook her head with a bitter smile. Rumble. Meanwhile, the 6 sky-burying ant kings in front of Fairy Jinghong and the others let out a furious roar as if they had lost their patience. Although the sky-burying ant was a little wary of the oasis in front of it, the 6 sky-burying ant kings were like 6 mountains. Their bodies emitted dazzling light, and their auras were incomparably terrifying. They emitted fluctuations that made everyone's hearts palpitate. The heaven burial ants in the surroundings seemed to have received some sort of order, and they lined up together. All of their eyes were blood red, and their bodies emitted monstrous baleful auras. Outside the oasis, which had a radius of several dozen miles, black mist rose, and killing intent pervaded the air. The black heaven-burying ants were like a tide, and there was no end in sight. The sky burial poison was above the sky burial ant's head. It was like a cloud that covered the sky, cutting off any chance for Fairy Jinghong and the others to escape. Under the command of the 6 great ant kings, the heaven burial ant colony finally prepared to launch an attack. Roar! 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 In the end, 6 earth-shattering roars were heard. In an instant, the void in all directions trembled, and the ground rumbled. The 6 sky-burying ant kings emitted dazzling light from their bodies. They floated in the void and took the lead to attack Fairy Jinghong and the others. Rumble. The sky-burying ant colony roared and charged into the oasis in the blink of an eye. Buzz. The vitality emitted from the oasis seemed to contain some sort of strange energy, causing the sky-burying ant colony to tremble violently. It was as if they had been poisoned, and they fell into the oasis, dead. Countless sky-burying ants died in the oasis, and their corpses covered the ground. However, the sky-burying ants behind them charged forward like waves. They were not afraid of death, and used their bodies to cover the oasis. They kept shrinking the oasis, and charged toward Fairy Jinghong and the others. No wonder the sky-burying ants are so wary of the oasis. The vitality is their nemesis. Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jade Fall looked at each other, and there was a hint of understanding in their eyes. However, the 6 sky-burying ant kings had already led the sky-burying ant colony over. They did not have time to think. They also attacked instantly. Ing Shue, Take Tong Tong and leave with them. We'll stop the sky-burying ant kings. Fairy Jinghong yelled at a beautiful feather girl in a green dress. There was a hint of determination in her eyes. Rumble. Her surroundings shone with dazzling light, and her aura was extremely pure and holy. A long sword that was as thin as a cicada's wing appeared in her hand. In an instant, sword chi swept out in all directions like a net of swords, sweeping through the air and descending toward the 6 heaven burial ant kings. Crack! The Tower Master of Jade Fall slammed her slender palm forward. A dazzling pillar of light shot out from her palm, containing vast and powerful origin energy. It was like a rainbow bridge that pierced through the void. All the sky-burying ants that blocked the rainbow bridge were pierced through, and they exploded into nothingness. Let's go. The Tower Master of Jade Fall swept up Tong Tong and the other feather girls with her sleeve, and sent them onto the rainbow bridge. Rumble. At this moment, the sky-burying ants' eyes were bloodshot. They began to attack the origin rainbow bridge in a frenzy. The sky-burying ants possessed extreme speed and great strength. They could leap thousands of feet in a single leap, and their sharp forelimbs were like blades as they slashed at the rainbow bridge. The origin rainbow bridge trembled violently, and the Tower Master of Jade Fall seemed to have suffered some kind of backlash. Her face turned extremely pale. Boom! She suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The origin rainbow bridge shone brightly, and green flames rose up and enveloped the rainbow bridge. Any sky-burying ant that dared to jump onto the rainbow bridge or attack it was swept up by the green flames, and they were instantly reduced to ashes. Let's go. Fairy Yingxua looked deeply at the Tower Master of Jade Fall and Fairy Jinghong. Although her eyes were filled with anxiety, she knew that they could not delay any longer. They had to leave. She pulled Tong Tong up, and with the other feather girls, they spread their wings and turned into streaks of light. They flew out of the rainbow bridge at an extremely fast speed. As long as they left the origin rainbow bridge and the sky-burying ants' encirclement, they would be safe. At that time, Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jade Fall would have no worries, and they might have a chance to escape. Rumble. However, at this moment, the void trembled violently, and 4 figures with extremely terrifying auras descended. Another 6 sky-burying ant kings appeared in the void, exuding an unparalleled aura. They were ferocious and stood in front of Fairy Yingxua and the others. Chapter 3173. When Fairy Yingxua and the others saw the cold and bloodthirsty eyes of the 6 buried heaven ant kings, their faces turned ghastly pale. Although they were all mid-level imperial emperors, how could they compare to the 6 sky-burying ant kings? The sky-burying ant kings had a mocking look in their eyes as they attacked. Rumble. The 6 sky-burying ant kings shot out 6 beams of golden light at the same time. The light was dazzling and seemed to be able to destroy everything. However, their target was not Fairy Yingxua, Tong Tong, and the others, but the origin rainbow bridge. Oh no! The Tower Master of Azure Heaven trembled, and her eyes were filled with anxiety. She spat out 2 mouthfuls of pale golden blood, and the origin rainbow bridge shone brightly in an attempt to block the terrifying attack. However, the 6 sky-burying ant kings blocked by Fairy Jinghong seemed to have discussed this beforehand. They released an unparalleled aura at the same time to block Fairy Jinghong's sword chi. Then, 3 of the sky-burying ant kings charged at the Tower Master of Azure Heaven. Clang! 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 The sword chi swept across the surroundings with unparalleled sharpness. It slashed the sky-burying ant king's golden shells, but it only left a few white marks. It could not penetrate the sky-burying ant king's bodies at all. The 3 sky-burying ant king's attacks were one disaster after another for the Tower Master of Azure Heaven. She had no choice but to move away in an attempt to avoid the attacks of the 3 sky-burying ant kings. At this moment, the 6 blazing golden beams of light instantly blasted onto the origin bridge. Crack! The origin rainbow bridge trembled violently as the runes shattered. A crisp sound rang out as spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the origin rainbow bridge. In the end, the origin rainbow bridge exploded with a loud bang. Endless sky-burying poison surged over, causing Fairy Yingxue, Tong Tong, and the others' expressions to change drastically. Without the protection of the origin rainbow bridge, the heaven burial ant swarm from all directions was like a tsunami, instantly drowning the few of them. No! Fairy Jinghong let out an incomparably shrill roar, and her eyes instantly turned blood-red. At this moment, the 6 sky-burying ant kings did not care about Fairy Yingxue, Tong Tong, and the others. After all, they had fallen into the swarm of sky-burying ants and would soon die. Simultaneously, they charged towards Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jadefall. The 12 sky-burying ant kings shone with dazzling golden light at the same time. Their radiance was incomparably dazzling, and their bodies emitted immortal and indestructible fluctuations as if they could destroy everything. Before the 12 sky-burying ant kings, Fairy Jinghong and the Jadefall House Master felt powerless. Looks like I'm going to die here today. Sister Bai Luo, I've implicated you. Fairy Jinghong said with a pale smile. There was a hint of guilt in her eyes. What are you talking about? If we're talking about being implicated, it's that bastard Ling Xiao who implicated us. Ling Xiao, if you have a conscience, come out and kill these bastards. Jadefall Hierarch sneered and shouted towards the sky. Although she knew that Ling Xiao would not appear, she needed to vent her anger. Dying in the hands of the sky-burying ants was not something she could accept. Rumble. The 12 sky-burying ant kings charged at the same time. The boiling golden light contained a terrifying destructive power. Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jadefall felt like they were small boats in the endless waves. They were in danger of being destroyed at any time. Both of them revealed a trace of determination in their eyes, and a terrifying aura fluctuation spread out from their bodies. They were ready to self-destruct. Even if they were to die, they would take these bastards with them. Crack! At this moment, the void seemed to shatter. An incomparably dazzling snow-white light appeared in front of everyone, illuminating the world. The world seemed to have been split into two. The snow-white light emitted a shocking saber intent as it fell from the sky. The saber light was so intense that Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jadefall were dazed for a moment. It was as if their minds were frozen. Everyone, including the 12 sky-burying ant kings, could only see that snow-white saber light. Rumble. The saber light slashed down and enveloped the 12 sky-burying ant kings. Then, the Tower Master of Jadefall and Fairy Jinghong saw that the 12 sky-burying ant kings were instantly cut in half by the saber. Their incomparably hard shells were like paper in front of the snow-white saber light. They were completely defenseless. Then, the 12 sky-burying ant kings trembled violently. Endless saber light poured out, and they were instantly annihilated in the void as if they had been cut into pieces. The huge saber light fell and plowed a huge abyss tens of thousands of feet long in the ground. It emitted endless destructive saber intent. All the sky-burying ants within tens of thousands of feet were smashed into pieces. Their souls were scattered and they died. The sky-burying ant kings died, just like that. Fairy Jinghong said in a daze. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Yes, they're dead, the Tower Master of Jadefall nodded woodenly as if she was in a dream. The 12 sky-burying ant kings were so powerful that it made one despair. However, they were all killed by a single saber strike. Even the fearless sky-burying ants showed a trace of deep fear in their eyes. They seemed to be completely frightened. They all stood there in a daze and forgot to continue attacking. Tower Master of Jadefall, Fairy Jinghong, I'm not too late, am I? Ling Xiao walked over in the dazzling light that filled the sky. The light around him blazed like a peerless saber that had been unsheathed. He emitted an unparalleled energy wave. His eyes were bright and resplendent. The faint smile on his lips made the world lose its color. Domineering Blade followed closely behind him. His expression was indifferent and his eyes were sharp. He was like the most loyal guard. Ling Xiao, you bastard! Couldn't you have appeared earlier? We almost self-destructed. The Tower Master of Jadefall felt relieved after seeing Ling Xiao and Domineering Blade. However, she still gritted her teeth. He's that strong. Fairy Jinghong stared blankly at Ling Xiao. Her eyes were filled with shock. Thinking back to what she had said about Ling Xiao, those self-righteous and shallow knowledge, her cheeks instantly turned red. Especially when she met Ling Xiao's bright eyes, Fairy Jinghong couldn't help but tremble. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. Brother, that's not how you use the taboo saber. You should quickly consume the origin pill to recover your strength. Domineering Blade said softly. Cut the crap. How would I know that the taboo saber was so freakish? Even my primordial immortal body almost couldn't withstand it. Fortunately, the power of this saber strike was strong enough. Otherwise, it would have been a joke. Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and said. He didn't have an ounce of strength in his body. If it weren't for Domineering Blade supporting him, he would have fallen from the sky. The grace of that saber strike was engraved in his heart. However, the taboo saber's freakish power also made Ling Xiao suffer. Chapter 3174. Avicii Hell's Heaven-Burying Saber. This was the forbidden saber that Ling Xiao had comprehended after merging with the forbidden saber spirit. It was said to be able to bury all Daos in the universe, destroy the origin, and destroy everything. After merging with the taboo blade spirit, Ling Xiao's cultivation base didn't increase at all. However, the terrifying power of this blade was undoubtedly displayed by this strike. The forbidden saber was a saber technique that hurt both the user and the opponent. It was invincible and had to exhaust all of the origin energy in one's body to form the forbidden saber and destroy everything in its path. That was why Ba Dao was so exhausted after killing the 7 heaven-burying ant kings. In the end, Zhu Chen had brought him back to Zhulong Imperial City. Although Ling Xiao was prepared, the saber was still more terrifying than he had expected. The origin energy in Ling Xiao's body was almost completely depleted. Even the dozens of origin Dao fruits had dimmed slightly. Rumble. An origin elixir river exploded in Ling Xiao's body. The surging origin elixir quickly turned into pure origin energy and flowed through his body to replenish his depleted origin energy. However, Fairy Jinghong, Tower Master Bai Luo, and the others did not know about this. They were all shocked by Ling Xiao's saber. He had killed 12 heaven-burying ant kings with a single saber. Could it be that Ling Xiao's combat strength was comparable to a peerless imperial emperor's? Swoosh! 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 Ba Dao slashed in the air and the saber radiance was dazzling. In an instant, he killed dozens of heaven-burying ants. He killed all the heaven-burying ants around Fairy Yingxue and Tong Tong and rescued them. Let's get out of here first. The heaven-burying ants are increasing in number. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said slowly. After experiencing a moment of chaos, the heaven-burying ants became increasingly violent. Their eyes were blood-red as they looked at Ling Xiao's group with eyes that were filled with bone-deep hatred. Moreover, there were still heaven-burying ants gathering around them and launching attacks at them. All right. Let's go. Fairy Jinghong and Tower Master Bai Luo looked at each other and nodded. Swoosh! 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 Everyone soared into the sky, killing the heaven-burying ants that surrounded them as they charged outside. Without the heaven-burying ant king's obstruction, the heaven-burying ants were no match for Ling Xiao and the others even though they were fearless. The heaven-burying ants in front of them were slaughtered one after another. Very soon, Ling Xiao and the others escaped the encirclement of the heaven-burying ants. The burial desert had already become incomparably chaotic. Ling Xiao, Ba Dao, and the others withdrew their auras and looked for a way out. They were prepared to leave the burial desert. They could feel the sky-burying ant queen's fury. Facing such a terrifying prehistoric beast, neither Ling Xiao nor Ba Dao had much confidence in defeating it. The harvest in burial desert this time was already very great. Have they already come out? Very good. Wanting to leave burial desert was probably not such an easy matter, right? Let me see if I'll be able to kill the heaven-burying ant queen after obtaining the blade of taboo. Otherwise, I'll be really disappointed. Above the peaceful lake, the candle dragon's eyes flickered as he muttered to himself softly. Buzz! His figure flashed, and the void distorted. He disappeared into the void in an instant, as if he had never existed. Rumble! The heaven-burying ant queen's body was dazzling with golden light. She was like a primordial divine mountain, exuding an insufferably ferocious aura. She opened her mouth and swallowed a black serpent dragon that was over 30,000 meters long. With a shake of her body, a terrifying aura scattered all the life in the oasis, turning it into a desert in the blink of an eye. Those who touch the blade's spirit die. The heaven-burying ant queen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. She was surrounded by an extremely powerful spiritual fluctuation that was extremely obscure. Her gaze seemed to pierce through the void and looked in the direction of Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Swoosh! In the next moment, she was like a dazzling golden light that instantly entered Burial Desert. The earth rumbled violently as she sped toward Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Rumble! At that moment, all the heaven-burying ants in Burial Desert gave up on killing the trial challengers and the numerous untainted beings. They gathered from all directions like a tide and chased after Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. The heaven-burying ants left? What happened? Why aren't the heaven-burying ants attacking us? Something big must have happened. Let's leave this place quickly. Burial Desert is too terrifying. Many of the trial challengers who were surrounded by the heaven-burying ants were overjoyed to have survived the disaster. At the same time, they were extremely confused. They had already lost all hope and were about to die in the heaven-burying ants' swarm. However, they did not expect the heaven-burying ants to retreat at that moment. They turned around at the same time and headed in a certain direction. Everyone's hearts were filled with confusion. Although they did not know what was going on, they all felt that something earth-shattering must have happened in Burial Desert. Many of the people who had obtained the heaven-burying fruits were looking for a way out of Burial Desert. The untainted beasts were all scared to death. They hid in their own territories and trembled, afraid that the heaven-burying ants would go crazy again and come after them. At that moment, Ling Xiao, who was looking for a way out of Burial Desert with Ba Dao and the others, could not help but feel his heart palpitate. What's going on? Could it be that there's some danger? Ling Xiao thought to himself. In Burial Desert, I'm afraid only the heaven-burying ant queen and the candle dragon can make me feel this way. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a bright light. The heaven-burying ant king was no longer a threat to him. Even if the heaven-burying ants attacked him together, he could still escape unscathed. However, the legendary heaven-burying ant queen, especially when he saw bits and pieces of the heaven-burying ant king's primordial spirit, made Ling Xiao extremely fearful. There was also the guardian of Candle Dragon Imperial City, the Candle Dragon Imperial City. With the cultivation of an unparalleled emperor and the support of heaven's providence, he could be said to be the strongest person in Candle Dragon Imperial City. Or is the danger coming from them at the same time? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Ling Xiao felt that the heaven-burying ant queen and the candle dragon might know about the Avicii hell saber and the taboo saber spirit in the forbidden forest. Could it be that they were waiting for the taboo saber to appear? I haven't completely merged with the taboo saber spirit now. I can only become the real taboo saber after I leave Burial Desert and break through my cultivation. If they kill me now, they can obtain the taboo saber spirit. Are the candle dragon and the heaven-burying ant queen waiting for this moment? Ling Xiao thought to himself. A wisp of wisdom appeared in his eyes. His guess had already touched upon the truth. Chapter 3175. Fairy Jinghong, I'm afraid we'll have to split up again. Ling Xiao's gaze landed on Fairy Jinghong as he spoke slowly. Why is that? Fairy Jinghong frowned. The surroundings were filled with yellow sand. The world was vast and desolate. However, for some unknown reason, an indescribable sense of danger surged into everyone's hearts. I've obtained the forbidden saber spirit and refined the forbidden saber. I'm afraid neither the candle dragon nor the sky-burying ant queen will let me go. You'll be in danger if you stay with me, so we'll have to split up. Leave the burial desert first, I'll lure them away. Ling Xiao said calmly. Brother Ling Xiao, I can feel it too. The sky-burying ant queen's rage is closely related to you. However, the sky-burying ant queen and the candle dragon are extremely powerful. I'm afraid you'll be in danger if you go alone. Tongtong's eyes flickered with a mysterious glow as if they could see the future. She glanced at Ling Xiao worriedly. Brother, even if we have to split up, let them leave first. I'll deal with the sky-burying ant queen with you. Ba Dao said seriously. No way. The burial desert is getting more chaotic. If you follow me, Tongtong and Fairy Jinghong's safety won't be guaranteed. Therefore, you must protect them and leave the burial desert. Ling Xiao patted Ba Dao's shoulder. Ba Dao was strong, but he was still no match for the candle dragon and the sky-burying ant queen. It was more convenient for Ling Xiao to move alone. In the end, Ba Dao had no choice but to nod helplessly after seeing Ling Xiao's persistence. Ling Xiao, I didn't think we'd become your burden. I apologize to you for my previous arrogance and conceit. Didn't you want to know who asked me to take care of you? Come out alive, and I'll tell you. Fairy Jinghong glanced at Ling Xiao thoughtfully. Ling Xiao, didn't you want a perfect origin orb? Come out alive, and I'll surely get you a few hundred origin orbs. The Mistress of Heaven said seriously. Don't worry, I'm the chosen one. Why would I die here? Maybe my cultivation will improve greatly after killing the candle dragon and the sky-burying ant queen. Leave now. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Rumble. At this moment, the burial desert began to tremble violently. Yellow sand billowed and the world shook. One by one, burial ants emerged from the desert. Those densely packed heaven-burying ants made one's scalp tingle just by looking at them. At the same time, in the depths of the burial desert, there was an aura that caused everyone's heart to palpitate. It was like an ancient beast, causing the sense of danger in everyone's heart to reach its peak in an instant. The heaven-burying ant is here. Hurry up and leave. Ling Xiao's expression changed as he hurriedly shouted at Ba Dao and the others. Big brother, you must come back alive. Ba Dao gritted his teeth, and his eyes turned red as he roared. Everyone was incomparably worried. However, at this moment, they did not waste any time. Under Ba Dao's lead, they swiftly leaped into the air, killed their way out of the heaven burial ants, and flew into the distance. Ling Xiao glanced at the backs of Ba Dao and the others. He also leaped up and flew in the opposite direction. Roar! Behind Ling Xiao, an earth-shattering roar rang out. The ground instantly cracked open. Blazing golden light spewed out like a golden pillar of light that shot into the sky. Endless yellow sand rose like smoke signals. From the depths of the ground, a giant ancient beast rushed out. It was as if an ancient divine mountain had appeared, exuding an insufferably overbearing murderous aura. The burial ant queen had appeared. An ordinary burial ant king was only 1,000 feet tall, but the burial ant queen was tens of thousands of feet tall. Her entire body was dazzling with golden light as if she was cast in gold. Her 6 limbs were like heavenly pillars that were cold, shiny, and incomparably sharp. The huge golden head was like a golden sun that was suspended in midair. In particular, the pair of blood-red compound eyes were cold and cruel. When they landed on a person's body, it made them feel as if they were frozen, unable to move at all. This was definitely a peerless emperor. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Just a glance behind him and the terrifying aura of the burial ant queen caused his sense of danger to soar. Without any hesitation, he unleashed his extreme speed. Like a bolt of golden lightning, he moved through the void and flew into the distance. Rumble. The burial ant queen's eyes revealed a trace of human-like mockery. In an instant, she chased after Ling Xiao. The ground rumbled and the void shook violently. The burial ant queen was surrounded by the burial ant queen, surging like a tide. Their speed was extremely fast. Although the burial ant queen was huge, her speed was also extremely fast. She was not inferior to Ling Xiao at all. One chased while the other fled. In the blink of an eye, they had moved hundreds of thousands of miles. Boom! At this moment, Ling Xiao suddenly felt a terrifying aura rising in front of him. Dozens of burial ant kings appeared in front of Ling Xiao, blocking his escape route. The burial ant queen is smart. She actually knows to let the burial ant kings block in front of her. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he thought to himself. Hand over, the forbidden saber spirit. The burial ant queen behind Ling Xiao looked extremely cold and contained a cold murderous intent. A few obscure syllables came out of her mouth, causing the surrounding void to tremble. Rumble. The dozens of burial ant kings were dazzling with golden light and filled with cold murderous intent. They locked onto Ling Xiao. Meanwhile, the burial ant queen was like a black sea that surged violently and covered the entire desert. They were all waiting for the burial ant queen's order. As soon as the burial ant queen gave the order, they would charge forward and tear Ling Xiao into pieces. Burial ant queen, do you know the candle dragon? He should be hiding nearby at this moment. Why don't we join forces and kill the candle dragon first? Then, I will give you the forbidden saber spirit. How about that? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he smiled at the burying heaven ant queen. In fact, that was exactly what Ling Xiao was thinking. The burial ant queen chased after him, but the guardian, the candle dragon, still did not appear. Ling Xiao did not believe that the candle dragon could not discover him. Otherwise, Zhu Chen would not have told everyone his location so clearly earlier. Since the candle dragon did not appear, the only possibility was that the candle dragon was hiding somewhere. Perhaps he was nearby and was planning to take advantage of the situation. This kid is smart. The candle dragon's hair and beard were all white in the chaotic fog above the 9 heavens. His eyes were extremely wise as he chuckled softly. He was paying attention to every movement below. Ling Xiao and the burial ant queen's movements and all the sounds were clearly heard by him. Chapter 3176. Patriarch, Ling Xiao is only a 4th heaven imperial lord. Although he's powerful, I'm afraid he's no match for the sky-burying ant queen. If he really dies in the sky-burying ant queen's hands and the forbidden saber spirit is refined by the sky-burying ant queen, it won't be easy for us to snatch food from the tiger's mouth, right? Zhu Chen said slowly. His gaze landed on Ling Xiao, revealing a trace of deep hatred. However, he was worried that Ling Xiao was no match for the sky-burying ant queen. If they wanted to benefit from the fight, they had to be evenly matched. Only then would both sides suffer. You're underestimating the forbidden saber. Zhu Jiuyin smiled faintly as a divine light flickered in his eyes. The forbidden saber is a forbidden power that surpasses the Emperor Dao. It can unleash unbelievable power. Only the forbidden saber can hurt the sky-burying ant queen. I don't need him to kill the sky-burying ant queen. As long as he can hurt the sky-burying ant queen, how can the sky-burying ant queen be my match? Although Zhu Jiuyin's voice was calm, there was a sense of pride in it. It was filled with confidence. You're right, Patriarch. Both Ling Xiao and the sky-burying ant queen have to die today. Zhu Chen said respectfully as a sharp light flickered in his eyes. Previously, the Patriarch had asked him to leave the sky-burying desert, but he had not. He had chosen to follow the Patriarch because he wanted to see Ling Xiao die in front of him. He knew how powerful the Patriarch was, so he was even more confident in today's battle. Hand over the forbidden saber spirit, or die. The sky-burying ant queen stared at Ling Xiao as her voice was extremely cold. With her intelligence, it was impossible for her not to understand Ling Xiao's words. However, she did not bother to reply. To her, Ling Xiao was just a small bug that she could easily crush. What right did he have to negotiate with the great sky-burying ant queen? Regardless of whether Zhu Jiuyin was hiding nearby, she chose to snatch the forbidden saber spirit first. Looks like I've been underestimated. Ling Xiao sighed softly and smiled faintly. Obviously, he understood what the sky-burying ant queen meant. Since that's the case, let's see what right do you have to ask me for the forbidden saber spirit. Ling Xiao's eyes glowed brightly, and in an instant, chaotic light gushed out. Rumble. He leaped into the air and threw a punch at the buried heaven ant queen. When Ling Xiao soared into the sky, his entire body emitted a dazzling divine light. Chaotic mist filled the air, and his entire body directly expanded in the void. In an instant, he turned into a giant that was tens of thousands of feet tall. His huge fist emitted a dazzling light. Like an ancient divine mountain, it pressed down on the heaven-burying ant queen. Die! The heaven-burying ant queen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. A golden limb rose into the air, turning into an unparalleled fist that charged towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. Ling Xiao and the sky-burying ant queen collided in the void. The terrifying fist imprint erupted and swept out in all directions like a storm. The heaven burial ants in the surroundings were swept by the aftershocks and instantly exploded. With Ling Xiao and the heaven-burying ant queen as the core, the heaven-burying ants within a radius of 1,000,000 feet all exploded, turning into a bloody mist. Ling Xiao and the heaven-burying ant both trembled and retreated at the same time. What a powerful force! Ling Xiao praised in his heart. This punch was actually on par with the heaven-burying ant queen. He could feel the heaven-burying ant queen's terrifying power. It was endless, as if it could encompass the entire world. As expected of a great desolate beast, it possessed the great desolate bloodline. Every move it made was capable of unleashing destructive power. Ling Xiao's physical body was extremely strong and could be said to be unparalleled in the world. Ever since he became an imperial emperor, no one could compete with him in terms of physical body. Even the octopus queen and the sky-burying ant king were much inferior to him. However, the heaven-burying ant queen in front of him was indeed powerful. Ling Xiao's chaotic fist imprint was powerful and all-encompassing. It contained the power of creation and destruction of an era. Every punch contained the power of a supreme emperor technique. Therefore, Ling Xiao rarely used any emperor techniques. Instead, he used his strength to break through all techniques and his fist imprint to suppress everything. Ling Xiao was building up his strength, building up his invincible strength. However, when his fist imprint landed on the heaven-burying ant queen's body, it caused his arm to go numb. The heaven-burying ant queen's golden limbs clanged loudly. They were sturdy and indestructible. The heaven-burying ant queen's eyes were filled with surprise. The little bug in front of her had such a powerful physical body. She was extremely surprised. However, the more this was the case, the more ferocious and murderous her heart was. Boom! The heaven-burying ant queen threw a punch at Ling Xiao. The void trembled as if the heavens were beating. The terrifying sound waves could shatter the indestructible primordial spirits of ordinary imperial emperors. The heaven-burying ant queen's fist imprint was as powerful as thunder. It was extremely fast and contained a power that could penetrate everything. It was as if all the energy in her body had condensed into one. It was an extremely mysterious fist technique. The heaven-burying ant queen was an ancient beast. In addition to being able to suppress others with strength, she also had her own special abilities. For example, the heaven-burying ant queen's heaven-burying poison was her special ability. In addition to the heaven-burying ant queen's powerful poison, she also had the heaven-burying fist technique. Together with the heaven-burying ant queen's strong physical body, she was invincible. Rumble. While the heaven-burying ant queen and Ling Xiao were fighting, the ordinary heaven-burying ants had received the ant queen's order. They were afraid of being affected and retreated thousands of miles away. The dozens of heaven-burying ant kings charged at Ling Xiao at the same time. To them, there was no such thing as a one-on-one fight. When the heaven-burying ant queen killed someone, it was always a group of ants that swarmed forward. The dozens of heaven-burying ant kings were surrounded by blazing golden light. They charged at Ling Xiao in the air. Powerful divine chains of order condensed around them and then pierced towards Ling Xiao. Could it be that the heaven-burying ant queen cultivates the great Tao of strength? Ling Xiao thought to himself. He had fought with the heaven-burying ant king several times, but he had never seen the heaven-burying ant king reveal a complete Tao fruit. Even the origin pearl of the heaven-burying ant king that he killed was not complete. However, Ling Xiao could sense that the heaven-burying ant queen's heaven-burying poison was not its true power. Its true power seemed to be related to the legendary great Tao of strength. Rumble. Ling Xiao punched out like a dragon. Every punch seemed to be able to shatter everything. The battle was extremely intense as he fought with the heaven-burying ant king and dozens of heaven-burying ants. Although he was fighting against many, Ling Xiao did not seem to be at a disadvantage. Every punch that he threw out would send a heaven-burying ant king flying. The one that posed the greatest threat to him was the heaven-burying ant queen. Not only did the heaven-burying ant queen possess extremely terrifying chaos power, but her 6 limbs were also extremely sharp and could pierce through everything. They were comparable to extreme Tao Emperor weapons and could cause Ling Xiao significant damage. Moreover, the heaven-burying ant queen attacked extremely quickly. In addition to the interference of the dozens of heaven-burying ant kings, Ling Xiao was soon injured.